That was a very good intro, IP. They're very good.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. I tried today for the first time to also stream simultaneously on Twitter, also known as X. Had to point that out because most people don't know.
Did it work?
And I think it works. I think it works. It's kind of weird. I never did this before. I know IP does it all the time. You just go
how would I find it on Twitter?
You just go on my page and find it.
It's there. Yep, you're streaming. We're good.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So,
whoa, hey, you're on Twitter, dude.
Yeah, I am. So, today I want to take some time and get through a topic that I went back and forth on with Kim Iversen, and so did Michael Jones.
Hang on. When you say you went back and forth on this issue, you're like, maybe Jesus wasn't a Jew. Oh, no, I think he was. No. Kim's making a valid point. I changed my position. Something like that?
Not really. It was more like her saying, I will debate this with anyone, anytime. And I maintain definitely that Jesus was absolutely not a Jew. This is a lie, and I will argue this forever. So I and IP said, okay, let's debate. And then she never responded.
She's never responded to any of that? Because I've seen people like keep pointing out to her that you guys have challenged her, and she's not responding.
She's not responding.
You know what that reminds me? Brandon Tatum a couple years ago said he was like arguing for Unitarianism or something like this. And he said, I'll debate anybody on this. I will debate anybody on this. He was saying this on a show. And then Anthony Rogers called in and schooled him very quick like. And then for some reason, he wouldn't take any debate challenges on this. Isn't that weird? People, it's really weird. And there's the parallel with Dawa in that you've got people like Ali Dawa, who I've never seen him in an actual debate at any point in my life, except for like a discussion with AP. But he acts like he's a debater, and he's never debated anyone. But apparently, people want the credit, and they know they'll sound confident if they just keep saying, "I'll debate anyone on this. I'll debate anyone on this," and then people say, "Okay, let's debate it," and then crickets chirping. It's weird. It's weird. It's almost like they're just pretending to be ready to debate it too. Because they think that people will be scared and think, oh, they must have a really great case.
That's what
she's been making some of the dumbest arguments I've ever seen on Twitter. Like I actually screenshot some of them. Like she said, Jesus and her followers from before his birth believed he was the Messiah, making them automatically not Jews as we understand the term today. Like, do you not what on earth are you talking about? Like the Messiah is a Jewish concept. Like, are you this bad at this? Like, that does not mean at all someone's not a Jew. Like, Jews believe in the Messiah. Duh.
Yeah.
We just agree on who the Messiah is, but we agree there's a Messiah. Christians and Jews do. So, like, that's such a bad argument.
Yeah, and AP and I were pointing out that, like, even if you wanted to try and give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, maybe like because Jews today would view Jesus as a false Messiah or something like that. Believing in a false Messiah didn't make you not a Jew. Lots of Jews have believed in people who turned out to not be the Messiah. You don't say, oh, therefore they're not Jews because they got the wrong guy. So it's just weird. It's like nothing anyone is saying means you're not a Jew. And
here is her whole point again, just to summarize it. This is a post by the Babylon Bee, which enraged Candace Owens so much that she still keeps talking about it. That she talked about it for over a week and kept saying, "I'm not mad. It's just not funny." And,
that was a good week. Yeah.
The post is Candace Owens horrified to learn Christmas was started by birth of a Jew. And Kim Iversen responded, LOL, this is funny, but Jesus wasn't a Jew, contrary to popular belief. So clear-cut, wasn't a Jew. The idea he was a Jew only came around after the Holocaust.
Look it up.
Look it up. First off, whenever somebody says look it up, it's like it's something. It's just really, really dumb and really bad. And
By the way, hey, Pete, this is a version of the 99-1 rule. If you say, look it up, and 99% of people are going to go, oh, well, if the person is confident enough to say, look it up, the evidence must actually be there. Therefore, I don't need to look it up. I know it's there.
Yeah, you can see here one claim that she makes, which she will change very, very quickly. She says the idea that he was a Jew only came around after the Holocaust. Now, anybody who actually knows their Bible or the history of any of this knows that this is complete nonsense. However, this is her initial argument here. It's completely stupid, but this is firmly her argument. He was what we today call a Christian. Christianity is the sect of Judaism. Look, it doesn't even make sense. The sect of Judaism that believes the Messiah, Jesus, already showed up. Jesus and his followers from before his birth believed he was the Messiah, making them automatically not Jews as we understand the term today. This is so stupid. First, she says that he wasn't a Jew. Then she says that he was part of a Jewish sect, which would make him a Jew. Then then she claims that because Christians believe that the Messiah already showed up, this automatically means that they are not Jews. This is completely made up. There is no such definition. There are lots of Jews, lots of respected Jews in history who believed a Messiah already showed up or the Messiah is already here. Lots of respected scholars. I mentioned some Rabbi Akiva. He's one of the most respected sages of early Rabbinic Judaism. He believed that Bar Kokhba, so during the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century, he believed that the Bar Kokhba is definitely the Messiah, and he will lead the Jews to their salvation. He will reestablish the kingdom and so on. And people rebuked him on that. However, nobody said that he is, because of this, no longer a Jew. They later on said that he was completely wrong, but nobody said he's not a Jew. He's still a very, very much respected sage of Rabbinic Judaism. This just
shows how stupid she is. She's not thinking; she's just making things up that sound, I guess, okay in her head, and she's just going with it.
And like in a gropers.
Yeah, it's the silliest nonsense ever that I've ever had to address. I mean, like, this is on the level of flat earthism, like what we're talking about here. Like, denying Jesus is a Jew. Find me one historian that would agree with her. I can't. Like, even Jesus mythicists would be like, yeah, if he existed, he would have been a Jew. I mean, like, they obviously believe nonsense as well, but I mean, like, I can't find one historian who believes in an historical Jesus that would deny he was a Jew.
What about the great historian Candace Owens?
Cool.
So then there's a community note here. There's a community. Oh wait, is this David? Apostle Paul, I am a Jew. Kim Iversen, LOL, stop lying, Paul. I know better than you because I have 225,000 followers on X, which means I'm super smart.
Yeah, because she was arguing that any of his followers also therefore weren't Jews. And here's Paul saying, I'm a Jew.
Yeah, this is Paul speaking after Jesus. After Jesus fulfilled his recorded mission and left. This is Paul speaking and saying, I am a Jew. Huh. Strange.
Yes.
That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. That doesn't make sense. So here is the community note that said Jesus was a Jew by birth, heritage, and practice. He called himself a Jew. So did Paul, with scholarly articles and Bible passages. Of course, I challenged her. She then followed up on this and said, I will debate this with anyone, anytime. Jesus wasn't a Jew by today's definition of Jew. Now she's suddenly changing, moving the goalpost.
Well, one second though, because that's when she says today's definition of Jew, you could define Jew in a number of ways, right? You could define Jew by belief. You could define it by a certain sort of Jew, like Rabbinic Judaism or something like this. You can be talking about biologically, like your DNA. You go back to the tribes of Jews or something like that. You could use this a lot. And when someone says a Jew by today's definition, and there are multiple definitions, you're usually about to get some equivocation. That's you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's usually a sign that someone's about to start equivocating.
Well, that's the thing, is she doesn't seem to understand the word Jew has multiple definitions. So in her video that she posted, she's going over, she's like, well, Jew can't mean religious Jew because we have people who identify as Jew that are atheists. And then but Jew can't mean ethnicity because we have people from Iran or Persia that identify as Jew. And I'm like, are you really this bad? Like, she'll use like criteria to dismiss one definition and not realize that the term Jew has multiple definitions. One of the definitions is Israelite. Jesus is an Israelite. That's not controversial. He's a descendant of the tribe of Judah, as Hebrews says. Like, I can't even fathom how bad she is at this. Like,
look at this. Here is just an example of how stupid this is. Here's Rabbi Brian Samuel says, Hebrews 7:14, for it is evident that our Lord was descended from Judah. John 4:9, so the Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you, though you are a Jew, are asking me for a drink? Shall I go on? Her response to this is a modern translation. The original text doesn't use the word Jew. The word didn't exist at the time of writing.
Sure, the
English word didn't, but I mean,
the English word Jesus. The English word Jesus didn't exist back then either. Yes. So Jesus didn't exist because it would have been Jesus. Oh boy.
Yeah. Why are we talking about Jesus then? The word Jesus also didn't exist. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Good point. Great point, Kim Iversen. Fantastic point. So,
by the way, AP, that point about Jesus being from the tribe of Judah, that's also important because one of the things they'll argue is that this ultimately comes from the tribe of Judah after the northern kingdoms were exiled and so on, and Judea became what was left, and therefore the word Jew came ultimately from the word basically Judeans.
Yeah.
But the word Judean eventually came to mean all the tribe, everyone that was left over, even if they're from other tribes, and eventually we get the word Jew from that. Anyway, the point is, even if you wanted to narrow it down and say, okay, it ultimately means someone from the tribe of Judah before the meaning was broadened. Okay, well, Jesus is from the tribe of Judah. If you wanted to say from the land of Judea, and that's what it meant. Okay, Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the land of Judea. And so it's like any criteria, any meaning of the word you want to come up with, Jesus fits, unless you're specifically saying a modern rabbinic version of Judaism that rejects Jesus. Jesus wouldn't fit into that, right? But now you're being extremely specific, and that's usually not what we mean by Jew.
We also have a problem here, which is that there is a famous example in Esther 2:5, which is I think one of the first instances where the word Jew shifts meaning, or is used as a general term to refer to all of Jews or Israelites. And so it appears here, and from here on it appears more frequently. And by the time of Jesus, the word has become a name for all of those who share the traditional Jewish beliefs and come from those tribes, or who convert even to them. So here is Esther 2:5. It says, now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew, a Yehudi, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So this is after it had started broadening to include anyone who's left over. Any Israelites who are left over at that point are just being called Jews.
Yes, of the tribe of Benjamin, named Mordecai, son of Jair. So this is referring to Mordecai here of the tribe of Benjamin as a Jew, as a Yehudi, which is the very same word that we are talking about. Yehudi in Aramaic, I think, in Greek later in the New Testament, it would be Judaios, was the same word used in general for the Israelites. The same word, basically, just in Greek, is used in John to refer to Jesus. So the entire argument here, we cannot really prove that he was from the tribe of Judah, is completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. Absolutely not needed. However, let's continue. Then she shared a post by some Jennifer something who was like, actually, the word Jesus, the word Jew was never used for Jesus in the Bible translations until 1777. She shared that, which is completely in contradiction with her original claim that it came around after the Holocaust. The post has become private in the meantime. This person made their profile private, and that happened. I don't want to say it's because of me, but it happened.
No, I just looked at what she said exactly in that, but someone said every word is incorrect. Someone said that everything she said is incorrect.
But I made a response to the thing that she posted here, in which I showed that it's clearly not true that the first instance of Jesus being referred to as a Jew in Bible translations occurred sometime after the 1700s or anything like that. I went back to, in fact, let me do that right now, to the John Wycliffe translation from 1382. From 1382. That's what I went to.
Well, now she'll just shift and be like, you see, it didn't show up until the 1300s. We have no evidence that it existed before then.
So here, in fact, let me bring this up here. So the John Wycliffe Bible is the first, I think is the first complete translation of the New Testament into English, 1382. These were I think a sect that was considered heretical. They were the Lollards, right? And so the followers of John Wycliffe translated the Bible, and here it is, 422 here. Ye worshipen that ye knowen not. We worshipen that we knowen. For health is of the Jews. Health means salvation or health of the Jews. 1382.
Your accent is on point, by the way.
I know, because it sounds much more like German than. You see, how did this get here? Did people time travel after the 1700s?
Israel has invented. They run the Large Hadron Collider, and they've been changing the past, like with Mandela effect stuff. And so they inserted this into the Wycliffe Bible using the Large Hadron Collider to make it say what they want. You see, Israel is so powerful. They just do everything they want. What are we going to do, guys? OMG.
Oh, no.
That's an actual conspiracy. People think that the Large Hadron Collider is like changing history. Like there was a guy on TikTok claiming the Large Hadron Collider changed his Bible. It's like, we live in stupid land.
Therefore, the woman of Samaria says to him, "Who are the Jew?" See, there it is again.
This proves my point. It says Jew, not Jew.
So at this point, English was in a transition period of being established. There were different ways of writing. Some people wrote it one way, other people wrote it another way. In the first King James version, for example, it is spelled with just. I think Jesus is referred to as a Jew with an I instead of a J. That's it.
Yeah. So Jew with an I, but also Jesus was spelled with an I. At that point. So this is just insane. It's like, okay, our spelling of words has changed over the centuries, and then they're going to actually build an argument out of that, and take advantage of people's stupidity because their followers are stupid and they're stupid. And it's just a perfect example of what Jesus said, blind leading the blind.
But it's just so funny. You open the book and it says Jesus was a Jew. Nothing to do with translations. And then you have Kim Iversen say, actually, contrary to popular belief, he was not.
Yeah, that only started after the Holocaust. Okay, in the 1700s. Okay, you got something before. Okay,
so tell me how this is not any better than flat earthism. Like, honestly, like this is you're just denying basic facts.
This is on the level of the moon is made of cheese.
This is worse. This is worse than flat earthism. Flat earthers, they get pretty sophisticated in they have responses for everything. They're not good, but I'd say they're better than this.
Powerful. Yeah. So rather than just blanket believing what you've been told, actually think, the irony here, about it. First, define what makes a person a Jew. Go ahead, give a clear definition. Go ahead, come on. I would love to hear it, since even Jews can tell you clearly what makes one a Jew. They actually can. There's just a minor disagreement on the religious level, meaning the legal or halachic level, and the secular level. That's it. That's what the disagreement is about.
No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
When she says even Jews can't tell you clearly, what they mean is, if you asked, "Hey, what's a Jew?" they would say it kind of depends on what you mean. There are multiple definitions. You could be referring to someone who descends from one of the tribes of Israel. You could be talking about someone who's a religious Jew. You could be talking about multiple things. And there's you see, you can't give a definition. No, you're pointing out that sometimes words have more than one definition. You giant clown.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Once you come up with
if she would just open Merriam-Webster, you'd see the word Jew, and it has like 4 or 5 definitions.
Yeah, if people don't understand, I mean, think about the word American. Normally, if you say American, you're talking about someone from the United States, but you've got North and South America, so technically everyone can be called an American. And some people use it in a patriotic sense. I'm an American, right? And there you're talking about like people like proud of America. You could use a word in multiple ways, ladies and gentlemen.
That's true. That's true. So once you come up with a clear definition, tell me exactly how Jesus qualifies. You cannot use Joseph's lineage, since Joseph wasn't actually his dad. Mary was from Galilee and not from Judea, and her lineage is assumed not known. Keep this in mind. First off, Mary being from Galilee is absolutely irrelevant here.
Yeah.
Absolutely irrelevant. It has zero relevance once you understand the terminology here at the time. Also, keep in mind the Bible you read is a modern translation of the actual ancient text. Okay, yeah, we can look at the Greek, and the actual text do not use the word Jew. Yes, they do, just in the Greek original phrasing. In fact, the word Jew didn't even exist during Jesus' lifetime. So, with this knowledge, first define what makes one a Jew and go from there. So, I don't want to further keep, on this whole point of the word Jew didn't exist back then. I just want to make a very small comment on it, and then we want to move on to the video. Oh, I challenge her to a debate. I challenge Kim to a debate. Do you accept, Kim? She can't say that she didn't see it, or that she doesn't know about this, because the funny thing about Kim Iversen is that she has been following me for quite a long time.
Oh, got him.
And I also messaged her. And I also even contacted James from Modern Day Debate to arrange it with her, and she's in touch with Modern Day Debate. She was on Modern Day Debate before, but she never responded, as far as I can tell. So she clearly doesn't actually want to debate. She just says that she would debate this with anybody. Now,
and by anybody, she means nobody.
She means anybody but her. No, anybody. No, anybody. Everybody.
I would be willing to debate this with nobody.
No,
I would debate this with no one anytime.
I would. How about we make it fair? I'll debate her, but I'll be drunk, and that way it's fair. And I'll be so drunk I'll slur and I'll still win, because this is so stupid.
Yeah.
There you have it, Kim. IP agrees to down an entire fifth of whiskey before the debate.
I will. It has to be Israeli whiskey just to annoy her, because I got the whiskey from Tel Aviv here. So I'm gonna need a drink if we're gonna watch some of this really dumb video.
Lone Wolf is at what day of waiting are you on now, AP? I stopped waiting. I eventually made a post saying I gave up, but I think it's been 8 days. Yeah, I made a post here. Look, I said I give up. 7 days ago, I challenged Kim to debate me about Jesus. Thousands of people have seen it. She hasn't seen it. I even had an organizer whom she knows contact her. She never responded. There you go. Kim Iversen is a fraud. So this was December 31. I gave up.
Here's my Israeli whiskey to Kim.
Wonderful.
For her.
All right.
Let me see. I'm going to get this all situated here. I want to move on to this controversy now.
So fun fact is I actually watched this live. This was on Rumble.
This controversy?
I watched this live as it was happening, and it was just very painful, and I made notes throughout it. But I thought if I have to watch it, then everybody else has to as well.
Oh,
it's funny. It's like now we have to deal with this controversy, which we created just recently by saying some of the stupidest stuff anyone's ever said in the history of humanity. And this caused a controversy because people jumped in to correct the stupidity of what we were saying. Yeah, you can do that anytime, Kim. You can always start a controversy by saying something ridiculously stupid.
Now, I know you might not care about this, whether or not Jesus was a Jew. Now, I'm going to say Jesus was absolutely not a Jew, and I'm going to give you my reasoning for this. There's been a lot of debate around Christmas about Jesus being a Jew or Jesus being a Palestinian.
There has been no debate.
There has been no debate.
She's the only one who's trying to make this really dumb argument. She's pretending like she's part of like some big like minority. Yeah, we've all been debating this. No, it's just you, Kim. You're the only one who's this bad.
There has not been a debate. It's just you, Kim. You are making that stupid point. And despite everything, despite every source, scholarly source refuting you, you refuse to admit that you were just wrong. You apparently have such a big problem with this that you keep acting like this is a very, very big debate. The world is discussing this right now. No, it's just you.
It's kind of funny, though. It's kind of funny that you can say something stupid and then act like there's this big controversy over it. You know what I mean? if I just randomly started arguing, hey, actually Muhammad was Chinese and I have proof and stuff like this, and people start arguing with me, and I come on and say, okay, guys, well, we've all been dealing with this controversy about whether Muhammad was Chinese for a long, long time, and I'm just going to go ahead and weigh in and share my thoughts. You created it, David. Why are you jumping in on it? Anyway.
There was the Pope who swaddled the baby Jesus nativity scene in a keffiyeh. This caused a lot of controversy. People were saying he wasn't a Palestinian, he was a Jew. What are you doing? People were lecturing the Pope about this. But let's have a conversation about whether or not Jesus was a Jew.
This is a very funny thing she's saying. People were lecturing the Pope about this. I also made a tweet about this. I said, why in the world did these people who organized this put a keffiyeh there? Because I would be not as weirded out by it, but I would also consider it wrong and strange if somebody had put an Israel flag there. It's not just about the keffiyeh. Why are you bringing your?
Is anti-Israel.
Why are you bringing this? Why do you have to bring it into every single freaking thing? And why do you have to force it into this? Why do you have to, desecrate your religious ceremonies and aspects and memorials and whatever it is by bringing the keffiyeh into it, by bringing this conflict into it? Why do you have to do this nonsense? It's just so dumb. This has, and the pro-Palestine side has been so brutally exploiting Christianity and Jesus over making this idiotic point and saying, "Oh, he was a Palestinian." And when we respond, it's then, "Oh, why are you arguing about this?" Yeah, because the other side keeps milking this.
Mm-hmm.
And why this matters. Now, I am not going to go and make the case that he was a Palestinian. I'm not sure if he was or if he wasn't. I haven't really thought a lot about that, whether or not
I haven't really thought. Stop there. Stop there.
I haven't
really thought. Stop.
I'm not sure he was a Palestinian or not. I haven't thought about it. Wow, man. I heard her say this live and I thought, wow. I mean, if I was a listener and I had some self-respect, at this point I would stop listening. Seriously? You don't really know? You haven't thought about it? And you want to lecture us now on whether Jesus was a Jew?
But who was using the word Palestinian in the first century, Kim?
No, I mean, like the closest you get is Philistine, which is sort of like Palestinian comes from that, but it's not the same as Jew.
How many people were saying Jesus was a Philistine?
So there's a very, very clear-cut response to this, which is that in the time of Jesus, nobody officially referred to the place that Jesus was in as Palestine or Philistine or anything like that. People referred to it, or officially, the Roman Empire officially referred to it as Judea. It was the region was called Judea. There were Judea, Samaria, and Galilee, and the collective of these places were generally referred to by Jews as Israel, as the land of Israel, while the Romans officially called that place Judea. After the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century, the Romans made a direct effort to suppress the Jewish identity, to destroy the Jewish history and legacy in Jerusalem, and officially changed the name to Syria Palestina, based on the Greek designation of a western coast of the land, based on the early population of the Philistines, which at that point no longer existed. So this was purely a Roman attempt after Jesus's death, a century after Jesus's death, to rename the place and to eradicate any Jewishness about it. They gave it the name Palestina. Before that, nobody referred to that place officially as Palestine.
Hey, AP. Hey, little side note here, but you have looking right now, you have 2,086 people watching on YouTube and 1,542 people watching, 1,560 now watching on X. So you have almost as many people watching on X as you watch on
No, that's not what I mean. That's total views. So that's total people have looked on X.
Well, I'm also looking up at how many people are watching, and it says 3,600. And so it says on the screen here, 3,600 people are watching in actual StreamYard, 3,649. So if 2,000 are watching on YouTube, that's leaving 1,600 watching somewhere else.
No, because StreamYard gets the info from X wrong. It takes in just total views and assumes they're all current viewers. Yeah.
I don't care. I'll just ignore that knowledge and say that this is currently watching.
Yeah, so, you don't know how many people are watching over there.
You don't need to think. Kim doesn't think about this stuff. You don't need to think. Just do what you feel. You know.
I haven't really thought about it.
Say he was clearly treated like one, considering he was killed. So that.
Wait, anyone who's killed is treated like a Palestinian.
Yes.
Is that what we're going?
Yes. Caesar was a Palestinian as well.
Yes, yeah, totally.
Martin Luther King died like a Palestinian.
Was very Palestinian-esque, I would say. But I'm not here to have the conversation or the debate about whether or not Jesus was a Palestinian. I'm going to focus specifically on whether or not Jesus was a Jew. And this is a conversation that is very specific for Christians and some Jews. But this is mostly aimed at the Christian community. So if you are a Muslim, for example, or an atheist at this point, this still is a conversation for you, and I'll tell you why it should still matter to you. But it is understandable to me why Jews would claim Jesus is a Jew. It's understandable that they would say he was a Jew and he was a heretic, and that's why other Jews persecuted him for claiming that he was the Messiah, and he wasn't. He was just a heretic.
Wow, she's almost getting there. But she never actually gets there without understand. Like, this is the closest to her actually understanding what was going on. But she never actually understands it. She then completely jumps off the rails and goes into a ridiculous direction. I just want to point out, this is actually kind of close to getting to what it was all about. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a Jew like all the other Jews in the environment. And as a Jew, who was also as a learned Jew, as a Jew who read the scripture, who knew the text and the teachings, who discussed with the other fellow Jews and preached to other fellow Jews and walked around with other fellow Jews, he was somebody who indicated on multiple occasions that he is divine and the Son of God, which caused great controversy. And based on that idea, not just because he was the Messiah, based on that idea, under Jewish law, by the claims and the laws that the Pharisaic Jews advocated for, they wanted to execute Jesus because he was a fellow Jew who made these claims. This is actually kind of you're almost getting there.
Hey, let me just read just a quick passage along the lines of what you're pointing out. This is the end of Matthew chapter 4, talking about Jesus, what he was doing early on. Said, and he went throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction among the people. So his fame spread throughout all Syria. So it is spread as far as Syria. And they brought him all the sick, those afflicted with various diseases and pains, those oppressed by demons, those having seizures, paralytics, and he healed them. But interesting, went throughout all Galilee teaching in the synagogues. It's weird that they have this non-Jew teaching in all the synagogues.
It's weird. And why do they have synagogues in Galilee, which they are supposed to have that only in Judea? So,
and he was killed for it. He was executed for it. If you're a Muslim, you would say Jesus is a Muslim. I am specifically aiming this at the Christian community who continues to believe that Jesus was a Jew. And I'm also aiming this at the Jewish community who keeps telling the Christian community that Jesus was a Jew. Now, why this matters. There is an entire nation murdering people right now for not being Jews in order to create a Jewish nation.
Stop.
Wait, that's why they're killing them? They're saying, hey.
So I saw her argue this before in posts, but this is so ridiculously absurd. I mean, nobody who has a slight understanding of the conflict would sit here and argue such a ridiculously stupid thing. What a completely retarded moron are you, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really why Israel is slaughtering people because they are not Jews and because they want to establish a Jewish state? And they say, oh, there are all these other people. They are not Jews, so we have to kill them.
Wait, aren't there tons of non-Jews in Israel, AP?
There are 2.04 million Arab citizens living in Israel right now, which is about 21% of the country's total population.
We're going to kill them all to make more room for more Jews.
Israel actively contributes to the prospering and the well-being of non-Jewish citizens, non-Jewish people inside the land of Israel that are part of Israel, that are citizens of Israel. The Christian population is a very healthy, very fast. The only Christian population in the Middle East that is actually growing in proportion to others. The only Christian community in the Middle East that is actually growing is in Israel. Israel takes care of non-Jewish people. They don't kill people for not being Jewish. This is not what's happening. If you actually want to break it down to that, the other side, especially the Islamists, the other side are the ones who keep this conflict alive and going, because the other side are the ones who cannot accept the idea that Jews can independently be in charge and have a state here. This land is Islamic land. It belongs to us. How dare these Jews establish their sovereignty here? We have to fight them. We will never give up our land. We will kill them eventually, and so on. This is what the conflict is about. Israel tried to make peace with the other side forever and never ever had an open or secret policy of killing non-Jews. This is so stupid.
Wait, AP. So is she saying that the reason for the bombing in Gaza right now and so on, it's because the Jews looked over and they said, hey, there's a bunch of non-Jews over there. Let's kill them and take their land.
What are all those non-Jews doing over there?
Right. So that's the reason, and it's not because there was this huge attack and then there's took a bunch of hostages, and then Israel demands the surrender of Hamas and demands to get their hostages back, and they're going to continue with a war until those things happen. It's not because of that. It's just, hey, they saw, hey, there's some non-Jews over there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Or haven't you watched Daniel Kikachu? Israel staged that. They staged it.
And you don't even have to go to October 7th. I mean, it's long before that. Since the late 1900s and especially early 20th century, the Jews have consistently tried to make peace and coexist. The other side didn't. If you want to come here and make the argument that, oh, the Jews, they're just killing people because they're not Jewish. Okay, if the other side never actually fought and never committed attacks, never committed kidnappings and so on, would a bloody conflict still be ongoing? No, it wouldn't be.
Yeah,
you can never establish this. You can never establish the argument that it would still be ongoing, that Jews would cause this a massacre.
Even Bill Clinton recently came out and he said, when I've had to explain to young people what was offered to Yasser Arafat and what he turned down, they can't even understand. Like, they think this is just a conflict of like the Jews trying to oppress and kill other people. They wanted to make peace. They agreed to the plan where Yasser Arafat got 95% of what he wanted, a capital in East Jerusalem and everything, and he turned it down. So
but it wasn't enough. We wanted more. We also wanted everyone to return to the
from
place
the river to the
and
sea.
we
Yeah,
want all the land.
that's actually happened multiple times where you actually ask them, hey, what do you want that is not just us giving you all of Israel? What will you actually agree to for a second state? Offering a 2-state solution. What will make you accept this solution? And they'll come up with a list. We want all these things. And there are specific reasons for not granting everything. They're like, and it's situations like, no, you want the land on top of this cliff with this Jewish village down at the bottom of the cliff. You can literally just toss bombs down on there all day long. We can't give you that spot. And so that's what, when you say 95% and not all of it, it's situations like that. It's like, we can't give you that because that would give you the perfect opportunity to kill as many Jews as you want. So we can't give you that. We also have to guarantee our own safety. But they'll end up with 95%, 97%, 98% in different situations of everything they want. And they always 100% of the time turn it down. And you ask any of these Kim Iversen idiots, why don't they have their own state? Oh, because the Jews won't let them, because the Jews want to take all the land.
Why do you have to be so mean, man? Can you just be nice to her? Anyway, you guys are talking too much. I will continue with this.
So the definition of what a Jew is matters, especially when your children are being outcast from their homes and killed for fighting back, all because they're not, all because they're being excluded from being a part of a Jewish nation.
Totally, yeah.
A quote unquote Jewish nation.
Totally. That's exactly what's
Now,
happening.
much of the Christian community
Yeah,
supports
when we went there,
favoring-
all the Christians were like, oh, they're beating us up and killing us.
Yeah, totally. This is exactly why they're being killed.
calls themselves Jews over the group that doesn't call themselves Jews. And there's a variety of reasons why Christians support it. There's the end of times prophecy. So you've got a group of Christians out there that will support this beginning of the Jewish nation because they believe in an end of times prophecy that says there would be a great gathering of Israel back into that homeland. And when the gathering of Israel happens back in Jerusalem, the Messiah will return. So you've got a group.
So here's the thing. From my observation so far, looking at Christian reactions and Christian politics and so on, it seems that the majority of Christians seem to be tolerant, leading from like between tolerant and supportive toward Israel. Those who are explicitly and outwardly supportive of Israel, from what I have seen, from what I can observe, I wonder if there are some statistics on that, are not people who are supporting it because of some end time prophecy. I keep seeing this claim, it's because the Christian Zionists, they're crazy. They want to bring about the end times and so on. I don't see that anywhere. I just don't get it.
You could have some people like that who are interested in end times for whom this could be a factor, but usually it's a belief in human rights, and you're basically agreeing with the overall argument that you're right. If you say we do not feel safe amongst people who could turn on us in the drop of a dime, and in other words, the argument for not having an Israel before World War II would have been, what are you talking about? You guys live in various nations. Those nations will protect you. And then all of a sudden you get what happened in World War II, and no, they didn't protect you. And other nations, even when you're trying to flee to them, they don't protect you. And so you guys have a really good case, a really, really good case that you need a place. That's a lot of the basis for support. And then there's just the historical connection and so on with the biblical, biblical Israel and so on. So you have a lot of different issues, but I've said before, for me, it's like a human rights issue. It's I agree that they do need a place, and you can see with Kim Iversen. Kim Iversen is an exhibit in how quickly people can just flip out and start saying things about Jews and try to stir up hostility. And it seems like they would need at least one place on the planet where they don't have to depend on someone else for their safety. They don't have to depend on the goodwill of someone else. Because think, if you just say, oh, this place has a really great government that will protect us, is it a democracy? Because if you get a bunch of Kim Iversen nuts in that country, they can flip, and we've seen it happen. And so that's my thinking on the issue.
Alhamdulillah.
Group of Christians who are believing this is what's needed to happen in order for the second coming. But there's also a group of Christians that support this because of what they call Judeo-Christian values, with Jews telling Christians that Jesus was a Jew. And so that's why you should support us, because your Lord and Savior was a Jew. And there's a reason why this narrative has come about. It wasn't
I don't think I've ever heard
I have never ever heard Jews say, guys, Christians, you should be supporting us because your Lord and Savior was a Jew as well. I've never ever not come a single instance of Jews making such an argument.
No, the argument they make is that we have similar values, Judeo-Christian values. We are different than like the Muslims or the East, and that we have a similar heritage. Our script, we use the same scriptures, the Hebrew Bible / Old Testament. That's hey, we have similar values, we have similar goals. We don't agree on everything, obviously, but that's the main argument. It's never like, oh yeah, your Messiah is a Jew, therefore agree with us.
Kim, bring me one instance. Give me one instance of any known Jew going out there and arguing, Christians, why you should support us. You should support us because Jesus was a Jew. You should support. I have never encountered a single such thing. Also, she makes it look like it is Jews who are actively telling people
Jews who are doing this.
that Jesus was a Jew. Jews are not doing this. It is Christians themselves who have established this, and it is people like you who are countering this basic fact. People are responding to it.
No, it's more like we're saying Jesus was a Jew specifically because people like her are saying that he wasn't.
Yes,
right? It would never cross my mind that I need to. Hey guys, did you know Jesus was a Jew? Like, what idiot doesn't know that, right? It's not something you. It's not something. It's like, did you know Jesus had a physical body? It's like you don't think that you need to say that until you're dealing with some lunatic who says something completely different. So no, I've never seen a Jew say, David, you know why you should support Israel? It's because Jesus was a Jew. Never seen that. So on the one hand, Kim, that's called a straw man. You're making up an argument and then attempting to refute it and so on. But that's more like a Muslim argument. It's, Christians, did you know that we believe in Jesus too? So you should support us.
You guys realize we don't have any proof that Kim Iversen has ever denied being a trans identifying woman that is actually from the planet Mars. I'm just asking questions. Why is she never denied?
And no one's talking about this. No one's talking about this. Why? Because they're not allowed to talk about it. Why? Kim Iversen is part of a trans Martian community that is controlling the media.
She's actually trans. So.
Exactly. We're just asking questions, okay? That's all.
The first big reason why there was this push after World War II for people to start saying and for it to be part of the more mainstream discourse or inside of Christian communities to point out Jesus being a Jew, the biggest first reason was to prevent persecution. This is very understandable. After the Holocaust, a lot of Jews would say, what are you doing? Jesus was one of us.
Have you ever heard that? I've never heard any of this. Right? So
please, Kim. Kim is completely making up history.
Making up all of history.
Please tell me what exactly you base this on. I actually sat down and thought, wait a minute, did I miss something? So I'm looking this up and I'm trying to find any attempts by Jewish organizations or others making this point. There is nobody, nothing. There is no move after the Holocaust toward arguing that Jesus was a Jew. There is no Jewish attempt after the Holocaust of saying Jesus was a Jew. Nothing like this happened. This is completely made up.
Yes, this came up again, Kim. To be clear, I'm sure there are people along the way who are saying Jesus is a Jew. Jesus is a Jew. You always have to be responding to some idiot who's saying no, he wasn't, or something like that, right? In other words, Kim, I never heard of this as an issue until you and some groper morons started saying it. Then, but AP, think about this, right? You've got generations of people who all have the basic level of intelligence to know Jesus was a Jew. And then all of a sudden you get to a very modern recent development where now we hate Jews. And you say, well, you can't hate all Jews because, you know, you got Jesus and the disciples. They were, well, no, they weren't. And they have to argue that Jesus and his apostles weren't Jews. And then you actually respond and start giving evidence. And they say, well, you see, what happened was the Jews, they understood that they really need to get our own country. And so they started pushing this after World War II. So they started saying, hey, the reason you should give us a country is because Jesus was a Jew. And that's why people started saying that Jesus is a Jew after World War II. I don't even know what to do. It's when you have people who can just make up anything they want, and it doesn't matter how demonstrably false it is, but their followers are so irretrievably stupid that they'll believe this nonsense. Oh, it's a sad world, man. We got a lot of work to do, man. We got a lot of work to do.
If anything, it was Nazis during World War II and prior arguing Jesus wasn't a Jew against the overwhelming consensus. And like Richard Steigman Gall talks about this in his book, The Holy Reich, is that some of the Nazi high command was pushing like a new form of Christianity, which is just some sort of neo-Marcion nonsense. They called it positive Christianity. Yep. And that part of that ideology was there was no atonement. They reject the Old Testament. Jesus was a martyr for the white Aryan cause, and he wasn't a Jew. And they're pushing against Catholics and Protestants who are saying he obviously was. I mean, this is just nonsense. So they had to build up this whole, like, house of cards that he wasn't a Jew, reinvent Christian theology that was just blatant heresy. I mean, if anything, they were the ones trying to push against the consensus. And like, if anyone was trying to say Jesus was a Jew, it was in response to that absurd nonsense.
Yep. So Nazis made a very, very big attempt at suppressing Christianity as it was and changing it, centralizing it, and creating their own new form of Christianity while detaching any Jewish aspect from Christianity and making it basically just a complete overhaul of the entire moral system of Christianity in line with whatever Hitler wanted, because the Führer is always right. That was the policy there. But until then, I mean, lots of very, very well-known scholars throughout Christian history have repeatedly maintained that Jesus was a Jew.
Against us, how could you do this to us? And I think that is a really understandable reaction, is to say, why would you kill us? Your God was one of us. But that has evolved. And I think the main reason why Jews today would say Jesus was a Jew and try to convince Christians of this is to gain support for the creation of Israel and the horrors that it takes to make it happen. So again,
never happened.
AP, that's actually what happened. So you had the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Great Britain gets control of the land. They have to decide how to divide it up. And a delegation of Jews came in and said, hey, did you British people know that Jesus was a Jew? And the British leader said, what? We've never heard of this before because this is a modern invention. Really? Tell us more. And they said, oh, yeah, Jesus was a Jew. Can you give us this country? And they said, well, we hadn't thought of that before. Jolly good show. Give them the land.
Hate when that happens, man.
That's history. That's the formation of the nation of Israel, according to
your God was
world-renowned
so
historian
you should
Tim
do
Iversen.
everything you can to help us because we're the people of your God. And then the average Christian goes, oh, you're right. Jesus was a Jew. I love Jews.
That's exactly how I was thinking.
To help you out. That is why this.
Yeah, the Christians in Europe were like, OMG, you're right. My Lord and Savior was a Jew as well. OMG, LMAO. I never thought about this.
I mean, like she just basically said all Christians are so stupid to fall for this nonsense. Like Christians she just said all you Christians are so stupid.
Christians are so dumb. Like Jews just said to them, hey, your God is Jew. So they were like, oh yeah, I'm so stupid. We Christians, we just don't think.
Let's go change all our Bible translations to make them agree with you.
This matters because even if right now you don't believe in any of this and you think it's all mythical and it's
or that you're stupid,
you're just a total atheist, there are a lot of people in the world who do believe this, and they believe this with every fiber of their being. There's no convincing them otherwise, and they are now supporting genocide because their beliefs have been twisted in a way that is not being corrected. And I think it needs to be corrected in order for these people to get on the right path again and not support genocide.
So
did you hear what she just said? Did you hear what she just said? It's we support genocide because we fell for a Jewish claim saying that Jesus was a Jew, and the Jews duped us into thinking that Jesus was a Jew so that we would then defend the annihilation of the people of Palestine. This is history according to Kim Iversen.
Powerful.
Some people will say to me, Kim, it doesn't matter. Genocide
You're a
is bad
moron.
no matter what. It
You're an
doesn't matter what
idiot.
you believe. None of that is relevant, but it
You're
is.
stupid.
Because again, you're not going to convince people who believe in religion. You're not going to convince them by saying, look, genocide is bad no matter what, and you should just agree with that, and you should just stop supporting it. They're still going to support it if they believe that this is what their God wants them to do.
Wait,
Now,
you hear this?
Going into this,
So now we believe that since Jesus was a Jew, that therefore we have to support the Jews as they commit genocide. And then
Please tell me which Christian believes such a thing, Kim.
yeah, that's what's amazing. Like, what has she said at any point? We've listened to her for several minutes now. What has she said at any point that anyone that I've ever seen anyone believe? And she's putting this forward as this is the belief. This is standard. I've never seen anyone who believes the thing she's saying. And she's saying this is just standard belief, and she's fortunately she's here to rescue us from things that we don't believe at all.
I just find it so funny. It's like repeatedly she tells us that this is something that we have been taught after the Holocaust, and it has not been corrected. Here is the Greek text, man. Here's the Greek text. Okay, of we talked about it earlier. John 4:9. Here is the Greek text. You see this word here, Kim, and everyone else, gropers. You see this word. You see where it says Jew. Jew is just the English word, the English version, the English way of using a term that went from Yehudi or Yehaya or Judaios or Juden and so on into English as Jew. And it just comes from this here. This is the original Greek, Judaios. She refers to Jesus as a Judaios. He does not object to it. In fact, just a few verses later, right here at around 22, you will have Jesus himself saying to her that we worship. So you worship what you know not. We worship what we know, for salvation is of the Jews. So he's referring to himself and his community as Jews.
But AP, I mean, the book of John was written by a Jew, and so can you really trust what it's saying?
It was written by the Frankists, actually. That's what Candace would probably say.
I don't believe in any of this anymore. I was raised Christian. I was raised in a Catholic family, also a Buddhist family. So I got kind of both sides of that. But also then I did convert to Mormonism. People will say Mormons are not Christians. I would say the Christian umbrella, when we talk about Christianity.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you leave Christianity. You go into stupid land. Like, don't leave Christianity. No, she was. She left that too.
Apparently, she was raised Catholic. Then something else. Then she became a Mormon. Was a Mormon for 10 years, and now she says she's kind of Buddhist because her family is of Buddhist origin or something. But she doesn't believe in any of this.
Why has Kim not denied she is 3 raccoons in a dress with a human mask on? I'm just asking questions, okay? Why is she not denied?
No one's allowed to talk about it. No one's allowed to talk about this.
No one's allowed to talk about it. That's weird. Does she have some sort of power over the media with her raccoon army? I'm just asking questions.
Oh, by the way, if I'm not sure what Kim is doing right now, but she's always, we are always happy to have her on to debate this kind of stuff with us. I'm also happy to have her on to just debate it with me, little me. I know 3 of us are kind of intimidating here. But
hey, Kim Iversen, open. We want to make this fair as possible. So AP is offering you a one-on-one debate. IP is offering you a one-on-one debate. If you want to pick one of your friends, like the one that you said, you're totally right in what you're saying, even though it's the most idiotic thing we've ever seen in our entire lives. If you want to bring that person and have it 2-on-2, I'd be happy to moderate. If you're concerned that I would not be, check any debate I've ever moderated in the history of my life. I'm completely fair. But you could also pick someone like, I don't know, Nick Fuentes, one of your heroes or something like that, and can be co-moderator or something. Just we think of what you want to ensure that your voice can be heard, and we will make this debate happen.
Anyway, let's continue.
Christianity. It includes Christian. It includes the various different Christian Protestant sects. It also includes Catholicism, Mormonism, anybody who believes Jesus is the Christ, we're going to put under the umbrella of Christianity. But that also, by the way, the reason why people don't call Catholics Christians, or the reasons why they'd say Mormons are not Christians, is similar to why I'm going to say Jesus was not a Jew. It's important. The language is important. It's important to know who you are supporting and why exactly. And most importantly, what if you're wrong? So if you're a Christian and you're thinking, well, I got to support the Jews and the creation of Israel because this is going to bring about the second coming of the Messiah. What if you're wrong on who the Jews are? So you have to have a definition of who they are.
So considering that most Jews support the creation of Israel because Jesus was a Jew, I will now here demonstrate that Jesus was not a Jew. Therefore, they should stop supporting Israel. The problem is that most Christians don't actually support Israel because of that. So... but good job. Yeah. The funny thing is, I was watching this live, and her chat was like, "Wow, you are so I'm very impressed with your knowledge." And so
this
on.
Is sad, guys. You have stupid people who now have massive followings of stupid people, and you just look and you say, "Oh man, what a bunch of idiots!" And guys, millions of idiots can cause lots of problems.
Wait a minute, this has 204,000 views.
Yeah, very powerful.
Powerful.
Which really, the Revelations don't talk about Jews. It talks about Israel, the gathering of Israel. That is all the 12 tribes of Israel, not just the tribe of Judah. That's all 12 of them. So you'd have to be able to make this definition if you're going to believe in this stuff. And by the way, once again, there is no archaeological evidence of any of these people existing.
False.
This is a faith-based thing. So if you are a faith-based person...
We have the Merneptah Stele from 1208 BC that mentions Israel. We have the Mesha Stele. We have Taldan Stele. It all mentions Israel. The Merneptah Stele refers to Israel as a people group in the 1200s BC. This just shows you how little research she's done. This is pure nonsense.
I posted about the Mesha Stele here before. Here's the Mesha Stele from around 840 BC. It mentions Israel 5 times. For example, Omri was king of Israel and oppressed Moab during many days, and Chemosh was angry with his aggressions. This corresponds with 2 Kings 3 in the Bible. And you can see it right here. It is marked here, Israel, Israel. It is right here. This is from 800 years before the time of Jesus. And
she keeps saying, like, you need a definition. Like, she can't even fathom that the word Jew could have multiple definitions. She keeps saying, give me a definition, singular, and then she'll use reasons to dismiss the religious definition or the ethnic definition, not even fathoming the possibility that the term could have multiple definitions.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, everyone who's watching, if you don't see the problem, think if you said, give me a definition of the word park. Give me a definition of the word park. And you say, okay, it's where you put a car somewhere. Oh, really? Then why is that thing over there with the swing set called a park? Oh, yeah, you see? Wow, it doesn't make any sense. Wow, you can't even give me a definition. You can't even give me a definition. Oh, boy, my goodness.
It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
I'm watching right now. 100% this is about faith. And that is okay. But there is no actual archaeological evidence of any of this, of any of these people. There's no archaeological evidence of Abraham. There's no archaeological evidence of Moses. There's no archaeological evidence of Jews ever being in Egypt. There's no archaeological evidence of any of these people ever existing.
Nothing that she mentioned right now has any relevance to the topic at all.
No.
Plus, she's also wrong about certain aspects.
No, we have evidence of Semites living in the city of Avaris, and then it's abandoned during the Ramesside period, and then about 40 or 50 years later, there's a population explosion in the hill country, and all these new de novo sites lack pig bones, and they have new structures and agricultural settlements, and it's like, we do have evidence. See my video, Exodus Rediscovered. So, like, she just hasn't done any research.
But again,
guys, is this what she does? Is this what she does on her show? Like,
yes,
yes. We haven't seen her say. I haven't seen anything that she said that is correct. It's been blunder after lie after blunder after lie after blunder after lie after blunder after lie, and then wow, you're so great. How did you become so knowledgeable about this stuff?
You could argue that there is no archeological evidence for Abraham. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, what archaeological evidence would you expect from a guy who walked around?
What is the relevance to? What is the relevance of that? How in the world does that have any influence, any bearing at all on the argument we're having?
None.
None.
Some of you might dispute that. There's interpretation of some archaeological evidence, but there's really no set in stone, agreed upon archaeological evidence of any of this. This is why faith is important when it comes to faith.
Oh, look at a smart sentence. This is why faith is important when it comes to faith.
This is that Kim Iversen big brain stuff. This is why she's willing to debate anybody on this.
We have. Why has Kim never denied that she doesn't have a brain? I don't get it. Like, she's never gone out and said.
And what archaeological evidence do we have for Kim Iversen's great grandfather? I've not seen any. Therefore, he didn't exist. Therefore, she doesn't exist, because how could she be descended from a non-existent person?
I would just object to this with a very simple point here, which is that faith has nothing to do with this. We can completely independent from faith, from whether you believe in Judaism or not, you believe in Christianity or not, you believe in any of this or not, we can clearly and firmly establish that in the first century, in the time of Jesus, the word that corresponds to Jew, Yehudi, was used in a certain sense. We can know it, we can pinpoint exactly at what it was used for at that time, because we have remnants, we have manuscripts from that time of the Bible where the word Yehudi is used. So the word Jew is used. And in fact, it does refer to the Israelites, to the people who share the traditional faith and come from the tribes or convert, to Israelites in general. That's what it is at that time. That's all we need. You don't have to believe or disbelieve or dispute any of this. This is a historical fact. That's it. Faith has nothing to do with this.
But what I'm going to say is that if you are a Christian, it's odd to believe that Jesus was a Jew by the definition that we understand the word to mean today. It meant something different back then, and we're going to go over this.
No, it didn't.
So the idea that Jesus was a Jew didn't come into common public discourse until after World War II. The first English translations of the Bible did not refer to Jesus as a Jew. They used.
And once again, I guess we're here. The first English. What's the first English translation of the Bible? Kim, what's the first English translation of the Bible? What's the first English translation? Can you please tell us what the first English translation of the Bible is? But I can tell you, I already showed it here. I can go back to John Wycliffe, 1382. Guess we have to do that again. 1382, John Wycliffe, 1382, John, let's have it right here. John 4, verse 9. There you go. The Samaritan woman, talks to Jesus and says to him, "Wanne thou art a Jew."
You see, I pants as Joe, not Joe, and therefore it proves my point.
And then we have 422, "Ye worship and that ye know not, we worship and that we do known, for health is of the Jews." Where did this come from, Kim?
World War II. The Wycliffe Bible came after World War II, after the Jews started saying, hey, you need to support us when we want to genocide everyone in the world, and therefore you should support us, because did you know that your savior was a Jew?
Oh, look, I just Googled it, like quick information. Thank you, Search Labs. Thank you, Google Search Labs. John Wycliffe Bible. The Wycliffe Bible is the first complete English translation of the Bible produced by Oxford theologian John Wycliffe in the 1380s. I think there's dispute about who actually wrote this, whether it was his students or whatever, but that's when it is from. So, but yeah, no, it was definitely after World War II, man.
And here's the real issue. This is becoming increasingly a problem. I've mentioned it with the Dawa guys, in that you can expose a Dawa guy for saying something completely false. Their fans do not care at all.
Right.
At all. You can expose them for saying something else that's completely false. Oh yeah,
Lone,
she probably does.
Lone Wolfie says, honestly, she probably thinks World War II was in the 1300s. So.
Yeah, she probably does. But I mean, think so. Even as we were talking about the other day with IP, I mean, completely exposed Daniel Hakikachu for just completely misrepresenting sources. How many of Daniel's followers were even slightly bothered by that?
Zero.
They don't care. As long as he's defending child marriage, lying is acceptable. It's acceptable given what you're trying to accomplish. They understand that. That's why exposing them doesn't bother their followers. It bothers other people who might be on the fence going, whoa, you just busted this guy for lying over and over and over again. But it's the same thing here. It's the mentality. You could actually expose her right to her fans. In other words, you could pick a fan who's saying, wow, her points are so brilliant. And you could actually contact that fan and show how literally everything she's saying is complete nonsense. That fan would not care even slightly, because that fan would be, well, but she's attacking the Jews, and that's all that matters. And it's all fair game.
Powerful.
Terms like of the seed of
what IP?
I think Kim is just a code for him because she's really trans. I think that's obvious what's going on here, and she has never denied it. So we're just asking questions,
and we're not even allowed to talk about it.
No, we're not. No.
Why isn't CNN talking about this right now?
Dangerous, you'll be killed.
Is it because trannies control the media?
Sure
Can't
do.
be trannies, man.
Of David or other references to Jesus's lineage. But the term Jesus was a Jew didn't come into existence until about the King James Version of the Bible, which is the early 1600s. That's when it was.
Wait. Let me go back here.
Wait, I thought it was after World War II.
Yeah, let me go back here.
I mean, today it meant something different back then, and we're going to go over this. So the idea that Jesus was a Jew didn't come into common public discourse until after World War II. The first English translations of the Bible.
No, it didn't come into common issue until now because stupid people like you were saying stuff.
Of the seed of David or other references to Jesus's lineage. But the term Jesus was a Jew didn't come into existence until about the King James Version of the Bible, which is the early.
First, she says that that the idea that Jesus was a Jew did not come into common public discourse until after World War II.
Yeah, how many people read the King James Bible?
Completely wrong. Completely wrong. Number two, she says that the idea or the notion that Jesus was a Jew came about around the time of the King James Version of the Bible. That is also false. Both of these points are false. Plus, if it was in the King James Version of the Bible, don't you think this would be a very, very commonly known thing among English-speaking Christians?
Yeah, since that was the go-to version up until like towards the end of the 20th century. That's what people were using for centuries as their main Bible. And so, guys, think about this. This is so insanely stupid. This didn't become an issue till after World War II. Bull didn't really become an issue until now, as far as needing to argue it, because now is when you have enough stupid people that we actually need to respond to this. But then you say, hey, no, this just happened at the King James. No, AP already showed the Wycliffe from the 1300s had it. And what are you talking about? You're talking about when like the modern form of the word, there's what the word represents. Like, again, Jesus, if you go to the King James, was spelled with an I, Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that mean? Does that mean that Jesus didn't come into existence until they started using the letter J? Or you're just talking about the form of words, and the spelling of words changes over time. It's what those words refer to.
Powerful.
Man.
And
stupid.
the funny thing is that she's also talking about this whole thing as if as if all Christians are English speakers and depend on the King James Version.
Yeah.
On the one hand, she's arguing that Christians are supporting Israel because of these notions that came up, and then she's making it look like this started around this started with the King James Version. Christians around the world didn't depend on the King James Version of the Bible. Germans had Bible translations.
Yeah, Luther
had Bible translations long before that. So.
1600s. That's when it was first mentioned, most famously in John 4, when the woman from Samaria, where it says this, then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, asketh, drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria, for the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. It was also brought up in John 18:35 when Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done?" When Jesus was brought before Pontius Pilate, and Pilate is basically saying, "Why am I here dealing with Jewish things? I'm not the Jew judge. Like, why am I being told I have to deal with
what's
this?
going on?"
So that is the references to Jesus being a Jew.
No,
Okay.
there's more.
But here's the thing. And we're going to go over the common arguments in favor and then my responses to them. But the first step is we have to define what is a Jew, and we have to understand the biblical translations of Jew. So first of all, is being a Jew a religion? And this is just defining what is a Jew is, I think, it's extremely important to the people who are being massacred right now. There's a big group of people saying, we're the Jews, you're not Jews. We're able to kick you off this land. This is our land. God promised it to us, right? So
Nobody says that, Kim. Nobody says that.
And even if she was right, this is just an appeal to emotion. She's very fallacious. She doesn't understand how logic works. Like, none of this, the current conflict has nothing to do with a basic understanding of how many definitions the word Jew has.
Hey, AP.
Yes.
I just looked up the because she said this didn't become an issue until after the King James Bible, so 1600s, but Luther Bible was from the 1500s.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just looking at this now. You know German, so
What does it say?
sprich nun das samaritische Weib zu ihm, wie bittest du von mir zu trinken, so du ein Jude bist und ich ein samaritisch Weib.
Yep, that is.
Denn die Juden haben keine Gemeinschaft mit dem Samaritan. What's that mean? That's all just German gibberish.
Because the Jews have no thing with the Samaritans. When you are a Jew, she says, when you are a Jew.
Oh, okay.
But hey, it doesn't say Jew like in it doesn't say
says
English
Judah.
Jew. It doesn't say English Jew. So
Got him.
You're busted, Luther.
I'm asking is, well, then what's a Jew and what qualifies somebody as a Jew? Is it a religion? Is it based on?
here's something very simple, Kim. By the time of Jesus, the word Jew had a meaning. By that meaning, was Jesus a Jew? Yes or no? I don't even have to ask you. You're an idiot. The answer is yes, he was. That's it. That's it.
Genetic bloodline? Like if you're a direct descendant of Judah, Abraham, like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, which Israel, and then Judah, are you then a Jew? Is it someone born in Judea? Or is it just simply if your mom's a Jew, you're a Jew? So back in biblical times, I think it's important to remember that.
Let me tell you, back in biblical times.
Hang on. Jesus is a Jew in all of those senses. Again, his mother is a Jew. So if that's what you mean, check. Born in Judea, if that's what you mean, check. Descendant of one of the tribes of Israel, if so, check. If you mean specifically tribe of Judah, check. Any one of those, just pick one, Kip. Just pick one. Pick one of those meanings.
Yeah, if you just go to like Hebrews 7:14, like it literally says, "For it's just obvious that our Lord was descended from Judah." Like that's they don't even think they have to question it. It's just
and
obvious.
then Revelation 5, Jesus called the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Right.
The Lion of the tribe of Judah. Which is kind of weird if he's not actually from the tribe of Judah.
Powerful. I mean, I'm just looking at the Gothic 4th century Gothic Bible, Gothic translation of the Bible of John.
He's going
4.
full goth.
Of John 4. Ta kastate kvino samariu du ima huaiwe du tate Judaiu is. Interesting. Even that one calls Jesus a Jew. But hey, it doesn't use modern English Jew, so well, what am I going to do?
It wasn't matrilineal. That changed somewhere along the line hundreds of years later, but you're never going to find any matrilineal lineage written in the ancient texts anywhere. It's all patrilineal. It's Abraham begat Isaac, who begat Jacob, who begat Judah, right? That's how the lineage is always going. It's always male patrilineal. That's how it is. So today, the identity of Jews amongst Jews themselves can't even be defined. They can't even define what is a Jew.
Jesus
They
was a Jew.
can. They can. It's just you have multiple definitions because you can mean different things. You can mean, is someone, when you say is someone a Jew, you can mean, are they practicing the religion, or are they practicing a specific version of the religion? You could mean someone who descends from one of the tribes. You could mean multiple things. It's like, are you insisting that a word can only have one meaning, and if it doesn't, if it can be used in multiple senses, that therefore it has no meaning and you can't use it? If so, then the great philosopher of language, Kim Iversen, would be laughed out of any room on the planet if she tried to bring this up in a classroom.
The sad thing is, this proves she did not even open a basic dictionary, because she would have seen multiple definitions in Merriam-Webster. Like, she didn't even bother to look.
But Merriam-Webster is controlled by the Jews.
Very true. Very true.
Merriam-Webster.
There it is. Yeah, look. 4 definitions there. Well, 5 if you include 3A and 3B, because you could be a member of the tribe of Judah or an Israelite. Okay, Jesus meets 3.
A person belonging to a continuation through descent or conversion of the ancient Jewish people, one whose religion is Judaism, one a member of the tribe of Judah, Israelite, a member of a nation existing in Palestine from the 6th century to the first century A.D. That's what they do. Middle English from Anglo-French Jew, from Latin Judeus, from Greek Judaios, from Hebrew Yehudi, from Yehuda, Judah, Jewish kingdom.
But you see, they're all spelled differently, so they're different things.
First known use of the word Jew is in the 13th century, around a century before the John Wycliffe translation, which I earlier showed.
So this is the crux of the issue. How can you say Jesus was a Jew when you can't define what is a Jew, even today?
Easy, we can define it.
Easy, we can go definition by definition and say he's a Jew according to this meaning, according to this meaning, according to this meaning.
Well, it's not explicitly religious, because there's a lot of Jews today who are totally secular. They don't believe in religion at all. So
completely irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is what I mean. Like, when she's like trying to debunk the idea you can define Jew in terms of religiosity, she'll just use criteria for another definition. Well, there's atheist Jews. How can they identify as a Jew?
Yeah.
They're defining as an ethnic Jew. They're not identifying as a religious Jew.
I have to point out, AP, the way she's arguing right now, saying Jesus wasn't a Jew, basically she could argue that no one is a Jew.
Yep.
No one on the planet is a
Exactly.
Jew. Because you can say, well, but the word can be used in multiple ways, and if it can be used in multiple ways, then it's absolutely meaningless, and there's no agreed upon definition. Therefore, you can't use the word. Therefore, it applies to no one. That's what she's arguing. Jesus wasn't a Jew because there are no Jews. That's what her argument amounts to, ladies and gentlemen.
And the thing is,
the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And the thing is, for the sake of the argument, let's grant that nobody can be defined as a Jew. Nobody can be defined as a Jew. However, Kim, if that is the case, then you can also not sit down and say, no, he was definitely not a Jew. And you unfortunately, you did that.
Well, because it's more of a culture, it's an ethnicity, but how could it be a culture? It can't possibly be a culture when you've got all these various different cultures. You've got Persian Jews that have completely different culture than Ashkenazi Jews in New York, who have a totally different culture than Ethiopian Jews, right? So they're not even culturally the same.
Really?
In the culture, the only thing that they would have that is culturally the same would be the religious aspects, which then goes back to, well, then is it a religion? And if it is a religion, then how can all of these non-religious people?
It is not just a religion; it is a traditional aspect. It is an ethnic aspect, which, as a word, encompasses a lot of different things, including tradition, religious beliefs, language, and so on. The Jewish communities, independently from each other, preserved aspects of the Hebrew language, no matter where they were, which is how it was also not impossible for Jews to come together and re-establish Hebrew as their common language. They went to Spain and on a religious level spoke Hebrew, but commonly spoke Spanish with a Hebrew influence. in Northern Europe, Western Europe, different places, they spoke local languages with Hebrew influence and Hebrew mixes, while on a religious level they still maintained Hebrew. Their scholars, their rabbis, continued studying and reading and praying in Hebrew, and so on. All of this was preserved. None of this is relevant at all to the argument here.
Guys, I'm thinking of like other examples. I mean, like of how she's arguing and how insanely stupid it is. It would be like, is so and so English? Hey, that guy, is he English? And you say,
what do you mean English?
Yeah, what do you mean? English can just mean someone from England. But other people might say, no, he's not really English because his family immigrated there before he was born. And so, yeah, he's born in England. So he's English in that sense. But he's not English in terms of ethnicity that can trace its way back. But then she could say, but wait a minute. I thought English is a language. And how can Americans speak English if that's a different part of the world? And therefore it can't apply. And she just, oh, but look, English, oh, it can be a language. Oh, it can mean someone born here. Oh, it can mean someone with a specific lineage. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. It can even refer to a breakfast, English breakfast. Oh my goodness, it's so confusing. Therefore, nothing is English. And anyone who says anyone is English is insane. That's what that's how she's arguing, guys. And it's really, really, really stupid.
Extremely stupid.
And if you follow that nonsense, you are also stupid, only you're stupider than her because she's at least getting paid for it.
Are we talking with stupiders?
Yeah. Stupiders
claim to be.
Anyway, let me check a few super chats here. Is AP still a Destiny fan after all that happened? What do you mean, what happened? And what Destiny fan? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Mohammed Didi, you like my new name and profile pic? Yes, I do. Next, like, why are we not allowed to talk about the Raeli and Eskimos being behind everything? Just asking questions. I'll debate anyone on this. English Who Dad says Einen Öle. Yes. Steve McLovin, he was Muslim, you see.
That's how by the way, that's how Muslims would actually argue. They would say, look, even the Christians can't agree on whether Jesus was a Jew because he was a Muslim, you see.
Yes.
I am going through puberty. My voice is finally deepened. It's over.
Game over, atheists.
Muhammad, did he ever listen to Palestina Lied? It's an old German song. Yes, I do. I have heard of it. I know it. The funny thing is, the early Nazis also had the ambition of just deporting all the Jews, or many of them, to the Holy Land. But then it didn't work out. They thought, hey, we don't have to do that. We can just send them all to Poland and kill them. Easy. Apostle of Allah, Muhammad is a wee Irish leprechaun that dances the jig before entering the tent Al-Kalbi is in. Muhammad also lifts his leg when he hugs someone. This is very, very racist against Muhammad. God like Snake says, everyone OMG, H1B, OMG, Islamic terrorism. Me is Richard Lynch of what the falsist, okay? I'm concerned about his well-being. Who's that? Who is Rudyard Lynch of what the falsist?
Look it up. I think I've seen him. Okay. I think I've spoken with him before.
Made in Canada Productions. How is a genocide if Balazadine's parents consented? Nick Fuentes. Hey, Nick Fuentes, what's up? Sure. This is someone pretending to be Nick Fuentes, which is a very, very bad thing to do. It's like pretending to be a piece of, human excrement. You're paid by the Jews, so how can we trust you Jews? And also, Mike Winger is the realest Christian, you Jews.
We see which side Mike Winger fans are on.
Alhamdulillah. Anyway, let's continue.
Jews, if it's actually based on a religion. Right? So then they say, well, just don't even ask these questions. Don't even bring it up. Obviously, a Jew is a Jew. You should just know what a Jew is. That's what we're told all the time.
Literally no one says don't bring this up.
Because they're not Jews. Don't you think
if you brought that up to anyone, they would say, Jew has multiple meanings. Let's go through the meanings and you tell me which one you're using right now. That's what it would be. It would never be, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. It's like if you said, does this guy speak English? And you said, but English can mean someone from England. Oh my goodness. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. There are multiple meanings of the word.
I think Kim is a secret Jew. She is playing as a double agent to make anti-Semites and Groypers look stupid.
Look as stupid as possible.
It's the only logical explanation how dumb this is.
Look at this, man. Look at the Estonian Bible here. How it has been corrupted by
Jews.
by the Jews, by the King James, by the Schofield Bible. Look, it says, "Det sies utløb Samarinene til male kude sina oles jud. Kustet jua menult, kes olem Samarinene, said judid." Huh.
You
See, they're everywhere.
Yut.
See,
Yut.
they're everywhere.
See?
Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this to us?
Made common knowledge and available to people to understand this so that people know whether or not they can be saved from your bombs. I mean, that would be like a nice thing to know.
My God, shut up.
What an
It's
idiot.
not a
Why are
race,
you watching? I mean, I
obviously,
get why you
because
want to respond to this,
You've
but
got
this is so
Jews in
freaking
Ethiopia
stupid.
who are black. You've got Jews and Ashkenazi Jews in New York and New Jersey.
Well, the primary reason why I'm responding to Kim Iversen is that it's very low-hanging fruit, and I thought I'm kind of like, okay, do I really want to sit here and actually spend time studying and researching and responding to more knowledgeable and serious
Or do you just want to
individuals?
point at someone and laugh and say, ha ha
Yeah.
ha, you don't.
Yeah. Do I want to go to
I
a
get that.
proper
I get that.
restaurant, or do I want to just go to McDonald's?
Yeah.
So I would
That's
rather
like
go to McDonald's.
that's like when we want to respond to Fareed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
okay, we don't feel like actually having to look anything up, so let's pull up a Fareed video.
Exactly.
Jersey who are totally white. You've got Russian Jews who are also really white. You've got Persian Jews. You've got Iraqi Jews, right? You've got them all over the place from different races. You've got Asian Jews. So these are not, so it's not a race. It's not a bloodline because you can convert into it.
That's the same thing as what you just said.
my
But
God.
oh my God, just
There's a couple of
Yeah,
reasons.
think about what she's saying. She's saying since there is no one meaning of the word Jew, therefore there is no meaning to it. So it's like, again, it's like the word park. There's more than one meaning of the word park. It can mean something you do with a car. It can mean a place you take your kids to. But since there's no one, since there's one, and I mean, think about this. If someone said, "Hey, I'm going to park my car," well, I mean, a park, like a place with a merry-go-round and stuff like that, because that doesn't make any sense. See, you're not making any sense. Therefore, you're not parking your car. And oh, you're going to the park. Well, that doesn't make any sense because that's something you do with your car, and you don't even have a car. You're walking on it. See, you're not making any sense. See, there is no such thing as a park, ladies and gentlemen. There's no such thing as the word park. That's what she's arguing. It is the stupidest thing. You're like, how could anyone even be arguing this? Like, how can anyone be stupid enough to actually be taking this position? That's what she's doing. And it's just popular because, well, she's saying her conclusion is Jesus wasn't a Jew because there's no meaning to the word Jew.
The thing is, I also know that some Korean people have the name park. So how can we then refer to a park as a park when it is obviously also a name among Koreans?
But one of them is you can convert into Judaism. And if you can convert into it, then suddenly you're a Jew. It's clearly not based on bloodline. Also, it can't be strictly bloodline.
I can tell you something very simple, Kim. It is called an ethno-religion. Do you know why it's called an ethno? In fact, much of religion outside of Christianity and Islam, for example, was generally not seen in quite the same. Judaism and many other religions were historically not seen in quite the same way as a community as Christianity and Islam are, for example.
You said not seen.
Because Christianity and Islam are proselytizing religions. They are not restricted to a certain community that just preserves and continues it. In Hinduism, which is also a very large religion, you have a similar aspect, an aspect that is similar to Judaism, for example, where it generally goes together with a certain tradition. Whether now people are born into it or out of it, or people join it or not, does not really make much of a difference. You can generally identify Hinduism in history with a certain population. You can generally identify Judaism in history with a certain population. It is an ethno-religion insofar that it is not just a religious belief. It is rather a tradition, a heritage, a tribe, together with religious beliefs, and so on. You have a very, very weird, I wouldn't say weird. It's just if you only look at religion and the definitions of religious communities from a very universal perspective, from an ecumenist perspective, from a Christian perspective, Islamic perspective, a proselytizing perspective, you might not exactly understand what an ethno-religion is, but that is what it is. Jews as a collective, as a community, share a certain tradition, share a heritage, share a history that is very, very much going together with religious beliefs and ethnicity and descent and community. And yes, you can convert into it and also leave it. Doesn't really matter. That is the Jewish community. That is Judaism. And that was also what Judaism was and what Jewishness was in the time of Jesus. Jesus was not necessarily, or not everyone in his community was a descendant of the very, very same tribe, but they were all collectively known for sharing this tradition and this history and their beliefs as Jews, as Yehudim. That's it.
And what's crazy is how little common sense and thinking this requires to understand this issue, because you don't even have to have the religious aspect of it. Just, I mean, she's literally objecting to the idea that a word can be applied in different ways. It's like if you say, is so-and-so Russian? Russian can mean born in Russia. And that could mean you don't have any Russian heritage. You could have been born in Russia because your parents just moved there. And if you're born in Russia, you're Russian in that sense. But someone could be born in America and could say, you say, hey, what's your background? I'm Russian. What's that mean? You're born in America. You're saying you're Russian. Oh, you mean, I could trace my family back to Russia. According to her, the fact that you can use words in these different ways means there is no meaning to the word. Because if you said to this guy in America whose entire family line was Russian, you say, hey, are you Russian? And he says, yeah, I'm Russian. You say, no, because you're born in America. Therefore, you're not Russian. And if you, I don't know, you could just go through any definition you give. You could say, if there's another definition, then you can just block that definition. And it's so insanely stupid that it's like destroying what little faith anyone had in humanity.
Anyway,
because it would have to be from Judah. And again, there's no archaeological evidence of these people existing. So there's actually no distinct bloodline that trace. But let's just say, for those of you who are faith-based, because this is really the people I'm talking to, you would have to do the genetic testing then, and people would have to prove that they are direct.
We have to do genetic testing on Jesus.
She jumps from point to point.
It said repeatedly that he's from the tribe of Judah in the Bible. And she says she's talking to a faith community who would therefore have faith in the Bible's repeated claims that he's from the tribe of Judah.
It's a distraction. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter at all to the argument. She doesn't get it. It doesn't matter at all who Jesus descended from.
She's like Syrian. She's like Syrian girl level dumb.
It doesn't matter. At the time of Jesus, the word Jew was used for the collective of people, no matter if they descended from the tribe of Judah or not. And we can prove it. In fact, I just proved it early on. Esther 2:5. That's the proof.
Now you might say, well, no, it's just all of the 12 tribes of Israel. Well, then you'd be an Israelite. We'll get into that, though, because that actually matters.
Good. It's good she's going to get into that.
Defining this is of utmost importance, especially since people are literally being killed over this. So that's the first thing that I'm going to say, is it needs to be defined.
Nobody's being killed. People, how many people this year have been killed over the claim that Jesus was a Jew?
0.
Oh, okay. Well, Kim says that's what
Jew
actually probably maybe 1 or 2. I don't know.
Was reserved. So first of all, the word didn't exist. That's not the word.
Maybe some people fought so much about this that they had a very, very big disagreement, and they really had this big ego trip and didn't want to accept being wrong, which is why they ended up killing each other. And they were really, really mentally deranged. Those were the only people who were killed over this argument.
The word they used Yehudim, which then was translated into Greek, which then was translated into Latin. And then we've translated that into meaning Jew when we put together the Bible, or groups of people started to identify as Jews, when that is not actually the term that was used. The term that was used was Yehudim, which literally means people of the tribe of Judah.
Yes, it did mean that until about 500 BC.
Yeah, and she just refuted herself. She just admitted that's what the term meant when Jesus was around. So he's a descendant from the tribe of Judah. So by her own logic, Jesus is a Jew. She doesn't realize she just debunked herself.
And guys, this is called the etymological fallacy. When you
Yeah.
say, "Oh, here's how a word is used. Let me go back to some original meaning of the word in order to say you can't use the word." So I pointed this out, that the word Hindu used to refer to someone beyond the Indus River, and so you're talking about people from India. So back then it was used just for it became used for anyone from India eventually. Then long after that, it became used of a particular religion. So following her reasoning right here, you say, "Oh, is so-and-so a Hindu?" You have to say, well, I mean, if the person is in the UK, then no, because he's not from that area, and it originally referred to someone beyond the Indus River, and this person's not beyond the Indus River. He's born in England, and therefore can't be a Hindu. When now we use the word, we have a meaning of the word that we use now. That's the etymological fallacy, saying, well, the word originally meant this, therefore you can't use it the way you commonly use it right now. This is so stupid, man. Like everything's a fallacy. Everything is a straw man. Etymological fallacy. It's like, gosh, girl, go spend a couple of days learning like basic logic.
Yeah. So the idea is not that it was the word Yehudim was exclusively used for the descendants of Judah, of the tribe of Judah. It changed quite early on to be used for all of those in the
Even in the Bible,
in the kingdom of Judah, and eventually to all of those who generally share the tradition and who are part of the community. That's it. And this happens in the Bible. This happens literally. This is not faith-based. This happens in the Bible, and you can directly, without even believing in the Bible, look at it in history, find the text preserved from the time, and confirm it.
Okay, so that is from the tribe. You are a direct bloodline from Judah, and just the line of Judah, forgetting the other 11 tribes of Israel, just the line of Judah. That is what makes you a Yehudim. However, after
That's what makes you a Yehudi, not a Yehudim. Yehudim is plural.
Yeah. And we have to say, if that's the case, guess what? The Bible says Jesus was from the tribe of Judah. So if you want to say that's your meaning of it, Jesus gets the check mark there.
Yep.
after the Babylonians and the fall of the first temple, it then was translated into kind of, I guess I should say that the word then kind of grew in the meaning of the word, started to expand to include all the tribes of Israel. So anybody.
So wait, when did that happen? You said? When did that happen? You said?
She said after the Babylonian
kind of,
captivity.
I guess I should. However, after the Babylonians and the fall of the first temple, it then was translated into kind of, I guess I should say that the word then kind of grew in the meaning of the word, started to expand to include all the tribes of Israel. So anybody who was an Israelite was kind of brought into the term Yehudim because those from the tribe of Judah were most prominent. They were the most powerful. And
it was actually because they were in the kingdom of Judah. That's it. Because of the separation and the survival of the kingdom of Judah, as opposed to the northern Israelites, and the continuation of the kingdom of Judah and the importance and so on. But IP, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, no, she's just refuting herself. If she's admitting that anyone living in that time of that ethnicity could be a Jew, by the time of Jesus, he's obviously a Jew. Yes. What is her problem? Does she not hear herself?
She's debunking herself. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, she's going through all the different meanings of Jew as the meaning change. And Jesus fits every single meaning that she's going through. And you have to get significantly later and narrow the meaning down to say this is the only thing you can mean by this to rule out Jesus as a Jew. But yeah, she's completely destroying her argument because tribe of Judah, check. Was he one of the 12 tribes? Check. Was he from that land? Check.
Yeah, Kiel, if you said, "Oh my, no, it's because of the kingdom of Judea," I'm dying inside and embarrassed by proxy. I understand. I understand. That's how I felt when I was watching it live. Yeah.
And they were the leadership, really, in the religious, in the Abrahamic monotheism.
Kim, please shut up. Please shut
Kim,
up. Please shut up.
guys, I'm sitting here thinking like I've supported women's equality for years, but I'm sitting here thinking her, Syrian girl, Candace. Oh, God, you're making it hard, ladies. You're making it really hard. In fact, while you guys are talking, I'm actually having to deliberately think, no, the double guys are really dumb too. So guys can be this stupid too.
Oh yeah. Man, this is really...
religious movement. And so people just kind of were put under the umbrella of Yehudism, even if they came from all these various...
she just added the ism in English.
The Yehudism.
Yehudastein Goldbergism.
Kim, try to translate that word into English. What does it sound like? Is there an English word that is close to that? Is there an English word that could be close to what you just called Yehudism? Is there?
Yehudism. What if we change it to a J because language Jehudaism?
No, there probably is no such word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Theism, religious movement. And so people just kind of were put under the umbrella of Yehudism.
Look, for
Yehudaism.
For the entirety of my life, I have always been very, very strictly against what appears to be kind of a public bullying or humiliation or something like that. The thing is, and I'm really not a fan of it, but when you put yourself out there,
some people deserve it.
Yeah.
And you make yourself a show, and you claim to know better, and you fiercely argue against others and call them out, and then claim to be the correct one and want to lecture people and so on. This is what you get. Okay.
Yeah.
Have some humility. Just learn something.
You know, I just want to remind everyone that we are followers of Christianism and we are against Muslimism. I just want everyone to know about that.
Man.
Even if they came from all these various different tribes. And by the time the Romans came around, the Romans kind of called all of them, everybody who believed in Abrahamic monotheism, whether they be from the tribe of Israel or not. They could have been Greek followers of monotheism.
Look what she says now.
Turkish followers. They could be
Turkish followers? The Romans?
They didn't have a term for monotheism. It didn't exist. Like, this is a modern concept we thrust onto the past.
Any follower of Abrahamic monotheism. By the time of Jesus, the Romans kind of called anybody and everybody who believed in that Yehudism. Or
So did the early Christians. They applied it to a variety of people. They would talk about the Hellenistic Jews.
But you're validating with a valid point something really, really stupid that she just said right now. She doesn't even mean that. She means
the Romans came up with it, which is dumb.
She says the Romans called basically anyone who believed in this monotheism, this Abrahamic monotheism, a Yehudism.
So Muslims or Jews?
Now, first off, Kim, any citations on where the hell did you get that from? This is completely made up once again. This is a completely made up piece of history. The funny thing is, I was watching this live and I was looking at the chat, and I'm serious. There were lots of people who were like, wow, you are very knowledgeable on this stuff. It's God. Like, I'm just imagining a bunch of incels watching a woman speaking like, wow, I'm not sure what she's saying, but wow, she's very knowledgeable. This is completely made up. This is complete nonsense. Romans did not use the word for people. They did not have a single term for monotheistic people. They did not refer to them all as Yehudis. Plus, there's also something very funny about this to me. She just said Turkish followers or Turkish believers in Abrahamic monotheism. Why, Kim? I understand that not everybody knows all about everything in history, but Turks were not a thing.
No.
And Turks were nowhere near the Middle East and the land of Israel at the time of the Romans. The Turks were possibly mentioned somewhere in some little Chinese texts. They were very, very far away, very, very far in some very distant lands. Their ancestors, very, very, very far away in some barren lands, fighting for survival and killing each other, and nobody called them Turks. Such a thing did not exist. What do you? This is just another example where she just makes up random things, and people who don't know anything about this will be impressed.
Well, I mean, like I remember reading a paper by Jan Osman that like there were Egyptians at the time who could technically qualify as monotheists because they just said all the Egyptian gods are just manifestations of one god. No Roman would have called them a Jew. Or who said, "Oh yeah, these Egyptians down there, they follow Judaism down there. We all, and that's how we qualify them.
They follow Yehudaism."
Yehud, the Yehudi. They used a different term. They used a Latin term. That's essentially what it translates into, which we now in modern day translate into Jew.
Yeah,
she just said
It means
Yehudi.
something.
Like, is she trying to like do Israeli, but like with Jew?
I guess so.
Really dumb.
In the Bible,
let me just read this little passage right here. So this is from Acts chapter 2. Now there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, but where were they from there? There were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. Because they were dwelling there, not permanently. They were dwelling there because it was feast time. It was feast time. They would travel to come to Jerusalem. Now there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. And at this sound, the multitude came together, and they were bewildered because each one was hearing them speak in his own language, and they were amazed. Anyway, it gets down to, how is it that we each hear, each of us in his own native language, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and residents of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, and visitors from Rome. What's this mean? It means that according to the Bible, it no longer meant simply someone from the land of Judea. It's saying they came from all kinds of lands. They came from all kinds of lands. So what are you talking about there? You're talking about ethnicity, or you're talking about even people who've converted. The Bible itself uses the word Jew in multiple ways, applying to multiple groups. And therefore, if you're, I don't even.
I just had a Hebrew Bible scholar on my channel on Monday, and we were responding to some guy who said Israeli, like the ancient Israelis. And he was like, this just shows he doesn't know what he's talking about, because no one in the ancient world was called Yehudi or Israeli. These are modern terms. It was Israelite or Jew is what they would say. If you're saying Yehudi in the ancient texts or Israeli in the ancient times, this just shows you don't know what you're talking about, because those are modern terms. In the ancient world, it was Israelite or Jew, not Yehudi.
Powerful stuff.
So same word, different meaning. It's like saying Indian, right? There's Indians from India, but we also call Native Americans Indian. So that kind of gets confusing for people.
Right, so
or
she does understand that words can be used in different ways.
Involves a lot of different sects, and a lot of Christians would say, look, Mormons aren't really Christians or Catholics aren't really Christians. But it didn't really matter to the Romans, because the Romans, they were only concerned, they weren't caring about the individual beliefs of the various different Abrahamic monotheistic believing people. They didn't care if some of them believed in oral tradition, or if some of them believed in the writings only, or if some of them were essentially becoming or were Christians. They didn't really care. They just found it extremely threatening. They found Abrahamic monotheism.
This is like when you go to your uncle or something, I don't know, and then you're asking them a question, or some older person, I don't know, some relative. You're asking them a question about something. They don't really know the answer, but they want to
sound like they do.
But they want to sound like they know the answer, so they just start talking garbage.
AP, you should do a skit where you are Sheikh Yehudi and you convert to Judaism and you become Sheikh Yehudi.
Yeah.
Or you could have a debate: Sheikh Yehudi versus
Rabbi
Yehudi.
Yeah.
The idea of an almighty God that was above and better than all of the Romans and their emperors was threatening to them. So they had their eye on this group of people, and they called them the Yehudi people, essentially.
None of this ever
No,
happened.
they didn't.
Nothing. Nope. No. Yeah, she's saying the Romans came up with this.
Modern terms, Yehudi, Israeli. These are modern terms. You wouldn't
Well, in
use those
Hebrew,
2,000 years ago.
they would say Yehudim.
Yeah.
An individual would be a Yehudi in Hebrew, but that was only used in Hebrew. Again, in Greek, they had different words for that, different designations for that. In Latin, they had different designations for that. The Romans didn't call them Yehudis.
Well, here's the thing.
Right.
Everything she said has been completely idiotic and made up, with the exception of her saying, okay, it originally would have applied to someone from the tribe of Judah, then later on expanded in meaning to meaning from anyone from the 12 tribes. But those things work against her. The only things that she has said correctly, because she looked it up on Wikipedia, the only things that she's gotten right are things that go against her. And everything else that she's claiming supports her is just completely made up nonsense.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so yeah, Yehudi is ancient in Hebrew, so I was wrong about that. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's like the Romans came up with that? No, that's not. It's not.
Yeah, the Romans referred to Jews as Judai, the Greeks as Judaioi. So that's the plural.
Yeah.
That's it. Not Yehudi.
People of the tribe of Judah is what it originally meant back in the day of Abraham or beyond Abraham. And by the way, Abraham was not a Jew. How do you explain that? Who was the first Jew?
What in the world does this have to do with the topic, Kim?
Judah was the first Jew. Abraham wasn't a Jew. Isaac wasn't a Jew, but Judah was a Jew.
No,
And
no.
all of Judah's offspring were.
And by the way, guys, I have to tell you, like, Adam was not a Jew, obviously. So whatever you're
Oh.
talking about, you know, and let's talk about Noah. Let's talk about Noah for a second here.
Judes, we should say, was the first.
Wait, what did she say?
Judes? Did she
Wait,
coin
wait.
the term word? Did she coin the term Judes?
Hey, Judes.
Hey, Judes.
Abraham wasn't a Jew. Isaac wasn't a Jew, but Judah was a Jew. And all of Judah's offspring were Judes, we should say.
Didn't she say earlier that all Israelites became
And that
Jews
was term
by the exile?
And
So
They were Judes. This is so embarrassing.
became
I just like it's hard to keep up with her.
and then it started to include all
She's just inventing things as she talks.
these other tribes of Israel, and then it started just including anybody who believed in these Abrahamic monotheistic faiths to the Romans. So there were a lot of different sects during the time of Jesus. There were the Sadducees, there were the Essenes, there were the.
She actually
Did
made
she say
notes.
Essenes? Did she say
Oh, she-
Essenes?
It's the
Yeah.
Essenes.
But
The
look at
Essenes.
this. Look at this. She's reading Sadducees and Essenes. Look at this from notes
Essenes.
that she has in front of her.
Yep, Essenes. She's great historian.
You have to
Kim
talk.
Iversen.
You want to
Essenes.
talk about this, and you actually have to read the Sadducees from a note in front of you. You want to talk about this topic, and you actually have to read Essenes from a note in front of you. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, it's one thing not to know about this, but to sit there and to lecture people and to read these names of a note in front of you, to remember them and to tell people about them. The arrogance is just wow, man. She knows nothing and acts like she's a scholar, and she can't even read the words that she's reading.
This is a legitimately horrible problem, in that you have people who watch the biggest idiots on the planet make stuff up in front of them, and they love it.
Mm-hmm.
They love being fed nonsense.
So there were a lot of different sects during the time of Jesus. There were the Sadducees, there were the Essenes, there were the Zealots.
There were also the
So zealots.
Pharisees, and let me see, zealots. Yeah, zealots. There were also the zealots, by the
Yeah,
way.
Zealot's another one of those words that has multiple meanings. So, like, why is she like
Yeah.
bringing that up?
How could what do you mean? What do you mean, zealot?
Yeah.
There were the Samaritans, there were the Nazarenes. So in the Bible, when the Samaritan woman refers to Jesus as a Jew, she doesn't mean you're a Jew religiously. They were actually both Abrahamic monotheistic believing people. She meant you're from Judea.
No, Samaritans and Jews were separated at that point, and despite the fact that they both claim to have the same descendants and upholding the correct tradition of the Israelites, they still saw each other as separate, different groups that are considered heretical by both sides, which is why the Samaritans had no dealings with the Jews and the Jews had no dealings with the Samaritans, which is why this whole split was going on. It was not just internal little movements and sects within Judaism, like with the Sadducees and the Essenes and the Pharisees and the others. It was about it was more than just that. So you can't put the Samaritans into the same category of sects as the Pharisees or Sadducees.
The problem with her is she is so all over the place. It's hard to keep up with her. Like when she says like Judaism, you have to stop and go, wait, what? But then she's already on to like another topic.
Yeah.
And you're like getting confused and lost in the weeds because nothing she says is making any sense. It's hard to like follow her.
But she sounds confident in everything she's saying. It's like this is a perfect parallel to Dawa, spouting complete nonsense, but sounding confident while you're saying it, and that's all that matters.
Dunning-Kruger effect. This is basically what it is. This is on display. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect on display right here. That's what she's doing.
And I'm from Samaria, and our two regions are at war, and
It was not region, and they were also not at war.
No.
Kim.
Yes, there was the big war. There was the great war.
It was not about regions. It was about heritage and belief and history. That's what it was about. At some point, it was about a split, a regional split. At this point that we're talking about in John 4, for example, it is not about just being from Samaria or there was no thing like, oh, you live, wait a minute, where do you live? I live in Samaria. Okay, I can't talk to you. That's not what this was about.
Mm-hmm.
we don't like each other. Why are you talking to me? And that is where that comes from. It's not you're a Jew and I'm not a Jew. It's not you're an ethnic Jew. It was you are from this region that we are outcast from. We don't have dealings with. I'm from a different region. We don't cross paths. It's kind of like the Israelis and the Palestinians, right? We don't cross paths. We don't like each other. So
I can guarantee to you that she has never been to Israel. She has never been near this place. She has no idea how these people interact. She has no idea what's going on over there.
And I just have to say, if she's acknowledging that that is a meaning of the word Jew, hey, you're from over there, I'm from over here, so you're a Jew, then Jesus would be a Jew in that sense, right, Kim? He'd be a Jew in that sense. And if you mean a descendant of the tribe of Judah, well, the Bible says that was Jesus, so he would be a Jew in that sense. So what you should be saying, Kim, if you wanted to not sound like the biggest idiot we've ever heard from in our entire lives, is something along the lines of, here are the various ways the term Jew is used. According to this meaning, Jesus is a Jew. 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 According to this meaning, Jesus wouldn't be a Jew. And so let me say that Jesus wasn't a Jew if that's what you mean by the word Jew. But if you mean any of these other things, he's a Jew. Say something like that, and you wouldn't sound like the biggest idiot we've ever heard from.
Powerful stuff. So no such thing is happening, by the way, in Israel, in the land of Israel. People are not saying, "Oh, wait a minute, you're Israeli, you're Jewish, I am Palestinian. We cannot talk to each other." The so-called Palestinians, Arabs in Israel are living there and working there and going to school there and being in politics there, working in the police force, working as doctors, being a part of society. None of this is happening. This has nothing to do at all with what was going on at the time. Samaritans were not called Jews. Samaritans also did not call themselves Jews. I think what Samaritan means protector or preserver or something like that. And they called themselves first just children of Israel or Israelites, and later came to be known or had the self-designation of Samaritans, as we as a community preserve the real the real heritage and the teachings of Israel. And the others who are not part of them, the other Israelites, were at that time referred to as the Jews. That's the difference. The Samaritans were not referred to as Jews. Correct. Samaritans means keepers. Alhamdulillah.
Why are you even talking to me? That is what that was referring to. It wasn't meaning you are a Jew ethnically. They were actually the same. The
Didn't she just say the opposite?
Samaritans, in fact, viewed themselves as the true Jews, and they actually viewed
No. They viewed themselves as the descendants of Ephraim. So as the remnants and the inheritors of the kingdom of Samaria, or the northern kingdom of Israel. So like today, Samaritans would not call themselves Jews because they were not Israelites who went south and became part of the kingdom of Judah. Many did, that mentions them in Kings, Chronicles. Luke talks about a prophetess of the tribe of Asher down there. So yeah, like the Israelites who moved south and lived there called themselves Jews, but the ones that were in the north called themselves Samaritans. Now they're both Israelites, but they're not the same.
If we did a thing here, take a shot whenever she says something wrong, we would be dead by now, I guess.
We would be dead.
I mean, like,
we would not survive.
It's just very weird because like the Samaritans would consider that an insult. They're not going to say we're the true Jews.
Or the true believers of the Abrahamic monotheistic faith. They believed that their version of Abrahamic monotheism was the correct version. They believed that the Pharisaic version, which was the most prominent version.
Did she just say Pharisaic?
Faith, they believed that their version of Abrahamic monotheism was the correct version. They believed that the Pharisaic version, which was the most prominent version,
Wait a minute.
What?
Is that a word? Pharisaic? She just said Pharisaic version?
It would be Pharisaic.
It would be Pharisaic. It wouldn't be Pharisaic.
Pharisaic sounds like parasitic.
Is she confusing it with parasite and parasitic?
Good question.
And once again,
Look.
she is looking at this whole thing from a completely wrong lens, as if it was just all about faith, and they have the right faith and they have the wrong faith, and they believe in this and they believe in that. That's not that's not how people viewed faith at that time in Israel, in Israelite community. That's not how it was viewed at all. It is still not really how it is viewed among Jews and others. But what are you saying, IP?
No, I had nothing to say there. It's just, this is mind-boggling in so many ways.
in Jerusalem, that was mostly the Judean people, was heretical. And that is, but they still were from that Abrahamic monotheistic belief. So Jesus was a Nazarene. He was not a Pharisee. He was
what?
Jesus.
See, now
was,
she's confusing categories here. Like, you could be a Pharisee from Nazareth.
Yeah.
You could be a Pharisee was a religious sect. Nazareth, a Nazarene was someone from Nazareth. You could be both. She doesn't understand.
The Nazarene term appears in the Gospels at some point, but it's not a self-designation to point out that, oh yeah, we are Nazarenes. We are a different sect now. We are Nazarenes. It becomes a term as a result of, correct me if I'm wrong, as a result of the rabbis and the others referring to the followers of Jesus as the Nazarenes, because he is from Nazareth and they gather around him. So they start referring to them as a group just as the Nazarenes. This became among early Jews the word for Christians in general, the Nazarene. But this is not a self-designation of a sect or anything like that.
Well, it's also a word that can't mean anything, because it can, on the one hand, have the meaning that it's from someone from Nazareth, but it later came to, as an early term for a follower of Jesus from Nazareth. And so therefore it had different meanings, and therefore there's no meaning to it. Because if you go with one, then she can always say, well, what about the other? And therefore it has no meaning. And so you can't call anyone a Nazarene.
Powerful,
Yeah.
powerful. Jesus was part of the very same Jewish community that he was around. Paul even explicitly says in his writings that he is a Pharisee. He says that he is a Pharisee of Pharisees, and so on.
Yeah, when IP was talking about a problem in categories here, what she just said would be like saying, "Oh, he can't be a Democrat because he's a New Yorker."
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about? New York refers to a specific place, and Democrat refers to like a political ideology. It's like you could be both, or you could be neither, or you could be one but not the other. But you can't say, oh, you can't call him a Democrat because he's a New Yorker or something like that. You sound like an idiot. You can't. He's a Nazarene, so he's from Nazareth. Therefore, he's not the.
Yeah, Jesus wasn't part of Yehudism. He was part of Nazarism.
That's where he's from, guys. Kim Iversen is a complete idiot. I mean, like bottom of the barrel, dumbest of the dumb.
Remember, this is the girl that had like on Daniel Hakikachu and let him just go on about child marriage for like several minutes, and she's just like completely clueless on the research and everything. Like, this is who we're talking about here.
I have seen over the last year or so lots of other people who are often from the Gropers and others who act like, oh, the Pharisees, yeah, the Pharisees were the evil ones and the Pharisees were the bad guys, and the Pharisees, they're basically the Talmudic Jews now, and the Pharisees, bad Pharisees, Jesus was against the Pharisees, and so on. They don't really seem to have a grasp on what Pharisee was actually in reference to, and you have here, for example, in Acts 23:6.
One of my favorite passages in the Bible. Paul is hilarious right here, guys. So let me just give the background. So Paul gets brought in before you had these two competing groups, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And the Pharisees believed in like the resurrection of the dead and so on. The Sadducees didn't. All these guys had a problem with the Apostle Paul for following Jesus by this point. So he gets brought in, and they're going to decide how to handle the Apostle Paul. And he walks in knowing one group, the Pharisees, that's his background, believes in the resurrection. The Sadducees don't. He says, guys, I'm in trouble right now because I'm a Pharisee, descended from Pharisees. I'm on trial because I have hope in the resurrection of the dead. Which is true. He's speaking the truth. He believes Jesus rose from the dead, and therefore he's going to follow Jesus and so on. And war breaks out between them, not physical, but these guys start going off on each other. So I just like that. It's like, oh, we finally got the Apostle Paul in here, eh? And he's like, hey, I agree with you guys and not them. And then they all start fighting. Really funny, classic Paul.
But here you have it. Paul himself doesn't say I'm a Nazarene. How dare you call me Pharisee? You bunch of Pharisaic people. I'm not a Pharisaic person. I'm a Nazarene.
Pharisaic.
He says, then Paul, then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and the others Pharisees, called out in the Sanhedrin, my brothers, I am a Pharisee, descendant from Pharisees. I stand on trial because of the hope of the resurrection of the dead, which was a big controversy among Pharisees and Sadducees. Here you have it. But no, Kim says no. Actually, I think this only started probably after World War II, like after around the Holocaust. They probably inserted this and said to just convince the Christians that the Pharisees were the good guys. Before that, it wasn't really a thing. Man,
wow.
Not an Essene. There was some of the
it was not an Essene.
apostles who were.
Hey, vato.
Converted, but was not a Pharisee. He was not an Essene. There was some of the apostles who were.
She needs to stop saying that. Listen, I am the worst at I mispronounce stuff all the time.
Me too.
But like, it's a scene. Like, this is like one of those basic terms that most people know.
No, it's
Essene. It's like a Mexican thing for her.
Hey, what are you talking about, Essene? Oh, man.
but Jesus was a Nazarene and his followers were called Nazarenes.
I think it's
There was no
Nazarene.
Whole
Nazarene.
Nazarenes.
Jews back in the day of Jesus, they didn't say, you're a Jew, I'm a Jew, we're all Jews. They didn't actually view themselves even as
They actually did. They literally actually did. They collectively viewed themselves as Jews.
And I mean,
No.
I posted. You showed the comment earlier where Paul says, "I'm a Jew."
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, like the Nazarenes was the only time it shows up in the Bible is when like someone who's not a Christian is talking about Paul in Acts 24, and he says he's the ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes.
Yeah.
So that's a term coming from the outside. The Christians at the time called themselves the followers of the way, and then they started using the term Christian after that.
Powerful. So you have what's that? Acts 22, 3, I believe. Acts 22, 3. You have it right here. Once again, from Paul's mouth, from Paul himself. I am a Jew.
Notice, by the way, not I was a Jew until I believed in Jesus, and therefore I'm no longer a Jew.
I am a Jew. This is Paul speaking after Jesus. I am a Jew. Born in Tarsus of Cilicia, but brought up in the city. I studied under the Gamaliel and was thoroughly trained in the law of our ancestors. I was just as zealous for God as any of you are today. I am a Jew.
No, Paul didn't know he was influenced by World War II.
people. That was something the Romans called them, but they did not identify with one another. They did not feel like they had any sort of affinity with one another. That just wasn't actually a thing back in the time of Jesus.
So stupid. She's completely making this up.
Mhm.
Yes, it was. Yes, it literally was. She's probably the only person ever who has said these words. I've never heard this from anybody else. She's making it up on the spot here. What an idiot.
So there were these different sects. The Romans didn't care about the different sects. They just were worried about these people rising up and worshiping an almighty God. They were worried about an average everyday man named Jesus that people were starting to.
Not to be nitpicking here, but the Romans actually did kind of care about they did had dealings with the Sadducees and kind of wanted to assert control over the Jewish population through the Sadducees, who were seen as the elite.
There
in
were a lot of
charge.
them were very
Yeah.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worship, and that's what their concern was. But today's modern Jews, and when we say Jews, what we actually mean are rabbinic, how do you say it? It's rabbinic Judaism. These
What is whoa, where does she who's the we here when she says what we mean? Who in the blue hell are you talking about here? If you want to say that's what you mean, fine. Don't say that's what we mean now.
I'm kind of stuck more on the fact that
you speak for no one, you giant clown.
I'm stuck more on the fact that she's trying to figure out how to say rabbinic here.
I mean, I
so
miss
now
you.
when we're talking about, the rabbinicees,
What are they called?
the rabbinicees,
Rabbinic
what we mean.
Judaism. Yeah.
And when we say Jews, what we actually mean are rabbinic, how do you say it? It's
Rabbinic Jehudisms.
rabbinic
Rabbinicism.
Judaism.
Parasitic,
The Pharisees.
rabbiniotic,
This
Judaicism.
Judaism, the Pharisee sect that survived after the fall of the Second Temple. But there was another sect.
You're almost correct. Rabbinic Judaism evolved from the Pharisaic Judaism. They are not the Pharisees. They evolved from the Pharisees. That's it.
Of
Mhm.
what you would, I guess, call Judaism that survived, and that would have been the Nazarenes. We today call the Nazarene sect of Judaism Christians, and we call the Pharisees Jews.
Christians themselves, the followers of Jesus, still call themselves Jews for a while.
What about Messianic Jews? Like there are people who are Christian and they identify as Messianic Jews. Are they now Nazarene rabbinic Pharisees?
She just said we call the Pharisees now Jews. So now we're finally getting to what her actual position is. It's the only people that we should reserve the term Jew for the modern descendants of the Pharisees. And that's the only people we can apply the term to.
You know what's funny? She's acting like, Jesus and his followers, they were different. They were different from this Pharisaic sect. From this Pharisaic sect, and they were following different. And Jesus was preaching different things, and these were sects against each other, and so on. It's very funny because this reminds me of a certain passage in. Where was that? Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Pharisees. Here. Matthew 23. This is actually a very, very nice passage on what Jesus' position on Jewish practices and Jewish leadership actually was at this time. So Matthew 23, you see here, if we went by Kim's explanation, you would probably think, Jesus is speaking against the Pharisees, against the Pharisaic practices and beliefs, and preaching his own sect and something like that. Look what he says. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you. Is he saying, oh yeah, they know that preaching a bunch of nonsense? There's a different sect. We don't do that. No, you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do. So his problem here is not with what they preach; it's with how they act. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries.
By the way, you have to love that everything they do is done for people to see. His main condemnation, and this goes back especially to the Sermon on the Mount and so on, where he warns people don't fast in order to be seen by others. Don't pray in order to be seen by others. Don't give to charity in order to be seen by others. But it's just funny because all the criticisms that he raises against the Pharisees, the people that it applies to most nowadays is Muslims, right? Like that they have to go and block intersections to pray. They have to. They want the entire world to look at them and say, "Well, they're fasting." Everything is done for a show, and it's interesting because at the very least, Pharisees would say, "Well, we don't care what you say. We don't have to listen to you." Muslims, we love and respect Jesus. We love and respect Jesus more than Christians. But we do the exact opposite of what he commanded.
Powerful, powerful. So everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries. What is phylacteries here, Kim? What is phylacteries? What do you think that is, Kim? It even has an explanation here. That is boxes containing scripture verses worn on forehead and arm, also known as the tefillin, which evolved over time in different ways. It probably didn't look exactly like this in Jesus's time. Probably looks slightly different, but it's basically this, which you will also see Jews wearing today in different ways. So this is not something that the rabbinic Yehudaisms just developed over time. It is a practice that was around in Jesus's time as well, which he did not rebuke.
And you can see why. That is, I'll give credit where credit. That is one of the coolest looking religious items from any religion ever. That just looks super cool.
It is.
And I'm starting to wonder. Can just regular Christians, can we rock those too? Because it's pretty cool looking.
Oh, I know Christians that do it.
Ha! We have it confirmed. I can do it too. So I'm going to grab one of those.
It's pretty awesome.
I'm going to get one of the super dope expensive ones too.
It's very awesome. So the tefillin is what he's referring to here. So they are doing they make their tefillin, their phylacteries wide, and the tassels on their garments long. What do the tassels on their garments refer to, Kim? That's also something that you see on.
Well,
Jews
you see, because you see when the Romans came down, the Romans said, "Hey, wear tassels," and so they wear tassels, and then the Romans said, "Hey, and we're just gonna call you all Yehudim."
Here is a picture of a Jewish man wearing something along the lines of what Jesus was referring to right there. Here, Of course, the practice is slightly different because at this time they were wearing clothes that were generally just, they were not like this, that had 4 sides, and at each fringe, at each corner of the cloth, they would have the tassels hanging down, which are known as the tzitzit in the Bible in Hebrew. Nowadays, it is implemented in different ways, but that is what he's referring to. So they make their phylacteries wide and tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at the banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi by others. So and so on. So here is Jesus telling the Jews around him, not that the Pharisees, they are a different sect, they preach these things, we don't believe in those, we have to follow Nazarism. In Nazarism, we don't do those things, we have different beliefs. He was literally telling them to do what the Pharisees say, just not do what they do, because they're being hypocritical. But no, Kim says they are a different sect.
So today, when we say Jesus was a Jew, what people are trying to tell you is that Jesus was a Pharisee, but he wasn't
my
a Pharisee
God.
because they're equating.
Oh Lord. No one is saying that. Like, no one is trying to do that. Why are we here? Like, why do we have to do this? I want to go back to like doing like more educational stuff, and yet I'm here trying to, like, for the last time, he was a Jew. Oh my God.
And Kim, this is another example of a straw man. This is what you're arguing. No one's arguing that. So the fact that you tell people this is what they're arguing, and now I'm going to attack what they're arguing, and no one's arguing that, and that's definitely not what we're arguing, that everything you say is some fallacy or another.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Powerful.
The term Jew from what it meant back in the day to what it means today. And it has a different meaning today. And today it is Pharisees. It's the Pharisees.
Okay, here's the thing. Pharisee was not. So it might be hard for somebody like Kim Iversen to understand, but it wasn't like this back in the day, where all Jews, they were following a certain sect of Judaism. They had to be part of a certain sect of Judaism. Some of them were Sadducees. Some of them were Pharisaic Jews. Some of them were Essenes. Some of them were Zealots. Some of them were Samaritans. Some of them were Nazarenes. No, the general population living in the land was not following a sect named Phariseeism or Pharisaitism. It was just the common people were the Jewish people, the Israeli people, the Israelite people, the Jewish people. They were simply following what the teachers teach, going to the synagogue, attending their traditional practices, and so on. An average person in society was not meant to be associated with the Pharisees, for example. They would listen to the Pharisees for teachings and for practices and for knowledge. They themselves were just regular Jewish people. The sects were not something like, oh, everyone has to be included in one of those sects. If you're not this, then you have to be one of the others. No, it's the general population, and the teachers and the devout ones, they follow different paths of Judaism, different interpretations of Judaism. The general population is generally not necessarily part of it. So the average Jew at the time was just a Jew who would go and listen to the preachers and their rabbis who were mostly Pharisees at that time.
Who became the modern Jews, and the Nazarenes, who identified as Jews, but not using that term. That term was not in use.
Yes, it was. You absolute idiot. They literally called themselves Jews the entire time. Well, this is why I wanted to debate her, because I just want, when she says dumb stuff like this, I just want to say, okay, can you give me evidence for that? Can you show me? Can you give me a source based on which you make the argument that they didn't refer to themselves as Jews? Please present it to us right now. In fact, I challenge her here. if Kim can tell us that, if Kim can demonstrate to us that the Jewish people themselves at that time did not call themselves Jews.
Well, not in the modern form of the word, AP, not Jew. What busted?
If she can demonstrate to us that they did not call themselves a variant of that word, like Yehudim, for example, if she can demonstrate that that was not a thing, I will personally pay her an amount of money that I don't even have. I will just have to gather it somewhere. I will give her $100,000 cash. Okay,
Come on, you got that in your pocket.
$100,000.
Because you're being paid by the
Jews.
It's so stupid because we can literally open the New Testament and it just shows us directly there them
That
referring
was
to themselves
written
as
by
Jews.
the Jews,
yeah.
mostly.
No,
True.
Think about how stupid this is. It's in the first century. You had Pharisees. Okay, they're Jews. You had the Sadducees. They're Jews. You had a bunch of different groups that were all Jews. What she's saying is that now when you also have a bunch of different groups who are all Jews, she's saying, but now the word Jew can only apply to the descendants of the Pharisees. That's what she's saying. And that's so Kim, who made you Lord of language that you get to decide? This is so stupid. I mean, this is like extreme narcissist level stuff. Like, I get to go in and I get to tell everyone how they can use words and that they're wrong if they do not agree with the random thing that I'm making up at any given point.
Get the hell out of here!
Insane.
So this gets really confusing because that wasn't the term that was
Yes, it's probably confusing to you.
Yeah, it's confusing to one person, namely you, and
used.
anyone who listens.
But the Nazarenes and the Pharisees identified as the same religious group, but they had very different religious beliefs. The Nazarenes believing Jesus was the Christ, and the Pharisees not believing that. Today, we have two different words for these two different groups. One of them is called Christians. The other is called Jews. Jesus was not a Pharisee. Jesus was a Nazarene. That's a Christian.
The average Jew, the regular Jew, was also not a Pharisee, Kim.
I also have to point out, using those words would not be mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're saying Nazarene for followers of Christ, then Paul, in that sense, would be a Nazarene. Paul also called himself a Pharisee.
Most Jews did not belong to, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if it's most, but the average population did not necessarily belong to one of the sects or movements. They were just Jews. That's it. It's just like today. If you go among Jews, you will find that Jews in general are rabbinic Jews. They follow the rabbinic tradition, or their tradition is built on Rabbinic Judaism, which is very, very well established. However, inside Rabbinic Judaism, you have different movements, different sects, different families, and so on that established long traditions. You have the Haredi Jews that are divided into different groups. Most Jews don't follow any of those groups. They just are rabbinic Jewish. That's it.
Yeah. And again, the only time in the New Testament someone calls Christians Nazarenes is from a non-Christian. Now, Eusebius does say later that Christians call themselves Nazarenes, but if you're going on what the New Testament says, it does not. Christians don't do that. They call themselves followers of the way or Christians.
No, they called themselves Nazarene. They said, I am hereby converting to Nazarism.
Okay. Now, if you want to be technical, and you want to say, well, okay, but for the time, at the time of his being, he was a Jew, and the Pharisees were Jews, and the Nazarenes were Jews, and they were all Jews.
Yes,
it's actually not even true. That's still not even actually accurate. What is a Jew? So let's go over some of the.
You just broke it down for us and actually demonstrated to us by refuting yourself that he was there, but therefore a Jew.
I don't think she remembers what she said 5 minutes ago.
The common arguments, and we'll break this down. People will say Jesus was a Jew by birth, heritage, and practice. He called himself a Jew. So did Paul.
It's so funny. She's reading the community note that was on her post. She's reading word for word the community note. That's funny. She says people will say it hurt her so badly she had to go live and respond to this by titling this a debate, and she's debating only herself here. She had to respond to the community note on her post. Very, very funny.
Jesus actually never once called himself a Jew. There is no biblical reference whatsoever to Jesus calling himself a Jew. Paul did. Paul.
Yeah.
She read my comment.
John 4.
If Paul called himself a Jew, Kim, by your definition, then so did Jesus. If Paul did not call himself a Jew because you don't accept the word that he used there for Jew, then Jesus didn't call himself a Jew. Okay, but if you are going to grant and accept here the indisputable fact that Paul clearly did call himself a Jew, then you also have to accept that Jesus called himself a Jew, because it is reported with the exact same word in your face. You have been debunked hereby. There shouldn't even be any further discussion about this.
No.
What an imbecile. What an absolute imbecile. In fact, I want to bring this up here. So we just looked at it. Acts 22:3. I am a Jew. This is Paul referring to himself as a Jew. Paul calling himself a Jew. He says, I am a Jew. I am a Jew. Judaios. Here it is. And now let's go to John 4:22. Let's go to John 4:22. So if you grant that Paul did indeed call himself a Jew, because he called himself a Jew here, then you also have to accept that Jesus also called himself a Jew, because in John 4:22, you read the very same word here. Here, Jesus refers to himself as a Jew with the very same word. So yes, Kim, if you accept that Paul called himself a Jew, then you also have to accept that Jesus called himself a Jew. You have just destroyed yourself entirely.
Yeah. Well, that's it, folks.
That's it. There is no way out of this. Unless you say, "Oh, okay. I was wrong. Actually, Paul didn't call himself a Jew." I can already tell you, if I brought this to her face right in front of her, by her own definition, by her own standard, she just completely destroyed herself. If I brought this in front of her, she would move the goalpost immediately, and go to I mean, what is a Jew anyway? Like definition.
Yeah.
What an ass.
Oh.
Anyway, do you think it's worth even watching any more of her?
No, this is so dumb. I can't believe we even have to respond to this and people are convinced by her, but they are. That's what's sad.
That's pretty pathetic, in it.
Yeah, I don't want to watch any more of her. I'll just want to look at super chats here.
See, but our brilliant points were about to come up.
You have been destroyed, Kim Iversen, by your own stand.
You're running from her most brilliant points.
Yes.
You sick in the mind?
Actually, wait a minute. Wrong sound here. Where's it?
You're finished already. Look at me. Look at me. You know you're done.
Powerful. Mumujo, sorry, but I don't get this. Let's say Jesus was not a Jew. Jews of 2024 are not the same Jews as Jews of 2000 years. So now it's okay to hate Jews and blame them, genocide them, helping Muslims take over the land as somehow a Christian's goal. None of it makes any sense, Mumujo. Don't try to understand it. None of it makes any sense. Indorm, do a Westhoff and use the Codex Sinaiticus to prove that Jesus was a Jew. It's even older. She will not accept it. Actually, I was going to say she will not accept that Jesus was called a Jew, because she will say that the word used for Jesus or for Jew at that time is not the same as the English word Jew, but she just granted that Paul called himself a Jew. It's the very same word. Jesus was a Jew. 100% true. Destroyed. That's it. Yeah. I'm happy to debate this with anyone, anytime. By which I mean, of course, exactly what Kim Iversen means. Ligamothigoyon said, we're just asking questions. The Jews have answers. We're just asking questions. The Jews have answers. Let's debate. But we are just asking questions. You can never silence us, and we will debate at any time. So let's debate. Christ is king.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mateo 09ist. First time hearing her. Is she the female version of Nick Fuentes, or did he transition? He transitioned. They
Have
sound
we
alike.
seen them in the same room together? We're just asking questions.
Yeah, just asking questions, man. Philip Daniel, Kim likely thinks Ashkenazim are just Polish converts with no Israelite DNA. I think she actually does think that, despite sharing 87% of their late antiquity ancestors with Sephardim.
Yep.
Pretty sure she does think that, which just... There was actually a funny part here that I wanted to kind of... Wait a minute, if I can find it, let me just have a quick look at this.
Apostles chanted well in the and King David, and then all the way back to Judah. So Jesus was a Jew. But if you're a Christian, opted, he would have the right to the throne. Because he was, I know it's not your kid, but marry her. Why? Persecuting David's divine recorded, actually not a Jude from the tribe of Judah, but she was a
She said a Jude.
Not a Jude. He was not a Jude.
Hey,
Jude. Hey, Jude. You're not from the tribe of Judah. Anyway, I was looking for, at some point, she made a comparison and said, well, if you ask ChatGPT, ChatGPT will tell you that Jesus is a Jew. But then again, if you also ask ChatGPT whether the COVID shot is a vaccine, it will also tell you that the COVID shot is a vaccine. And we all know it's not true. It's not a vaccine. And while it is an entirely different discussion, I just wanted to get into how ridiculous her definition of, or her understanding of definitions and words is. But whatever, man. We have beaten it to death. Philip Daniel, Kim likely thinks, Miss Tojen says, 608 says, she says he wasn't a Jew and doesn't know if he was Palestinian. So what was he? Not a Christian. That word didn't exist during his time. Just a Galilean, a Bethlehemite, pure stupidity and ignorance. Well, he was a Nazarenist. That's what he was. As opposed to a Yehudismist. Obey. Jesus said, be my witness in Jerusalem and in all Palestine. Duh. Philip Daniel, Jews have always called ourselves Israel, by the way. True. Cat Lady says, Jews, Pharisees, so she proves we're from here. Oopsie. Yep, that's what she does. Herbert, AP killed me. I lived in his window seal. Brutal. Oh, that's her. Hey, Herbert, what's up, man? It's my cricket Herbert. Nomadicus gifted 5 memberships. Should get back to work, said Andrew Gold. Said Israeli Hasidic Jews, although 20% of pop push Israel into war as voting bloc, comparing to Muslim influence on UK politics. Thoughts? He said that. I would like to see him say that, because it's not really true. That's not really what's happening here. But yeah. Celeria Rosencross said, thanks, Nomadicus, for the membership. And thank you, AP. Nomadicus, my laptop keyboard is dying. Yes. Thank you, Nomadicus, for gifting memberships. Nomadicus, love you guys. Excellent share, David. God has used IP in part with others to get me out of NAR and into a solid Bible church. 1, 2.
Nice.
What is NAR?
That's like Christian nationalism stuff.
Ew.
Brother, ew.
And into church history, understanding Nicaea 1 was not Constantine tyranny, but real Christians. AP, you're my favorite atheist. I'm not an atheist.
Yeah, he's not an atheist. Where you been, Nomadicus?
You're living under a rock. Everyone knows that I'm not.
Everyone
I'm not an
knows.
atheist.
Mhm.
Literally, you can see it on CNN. Victor Lebbit, what are your thoughts on the dangers of Islam becoming cool among Western youth? I know several people at my MMA gym who are white dudes and Europeans and have converted to Islam. You do? You actually know people? That's funny.
Yeah, it's that's a thing now, because you've got a population in the world that is addicted to attention and will do anything for attention. And one easy way to get attention is to become a Muslim. You get instant attention, tons of it. You get tons of attention from the Muslim community, and simultaneously, ladies and gentlemen, and this is significant, also being a victim is super cool nowadays. Everyone's like striving to show that they're a victim in some way or another. So convert to Islam, you instantly get tons of attention, and you get victim status, because there's so many Islamophobes out there. So anyway, you get a bunch of people addicted to attention and say, Here's a way to get tons of attention instantly, and as an added bonus, you can be a victim too. Converts, instant converts, but they're going to be shallow. They're going to be kind of shallow. They're going to be kind of shallow converts.
I love being a victim. Being a victim is beast. Yeah. Beralil Troll says, what happens if you make up a drink with orange juice? You get Pulp Fiction. Exactly. Yes. Michelle Anamofadze. Hey, Michelle, what's up? Conspiracies with Kim and Candace, the new moronic show ignoring all history. Coming soon to YouTube. Yeshua is Messiah and a Jew. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. I made this meme earlier. I was very proud of it when I made it. I don't know if you've seen it, David. I wanted to go back to making memes. So
yeah, I saw that. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah. Die kafir, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Let me guess. Iranian? How convenient. You can't fool me, Zionist. That's basically the reaction that she gave yesterday.
That's the reaction, yeah. Any jihadi right now who goes out and says, I must slaughter people in the name of Allah to support ISIS.
She goes, come on, liar. You know you're put up to this by the U.
We know exactly who's doing this. How convenient. Right now? Yeah, right.
That's actually going around right now. It's the Tesla guy, and the New Orleans guy both were at Fort Bragg at one point. And so people are pointing out, you see, this is clearly from the U.S. military. Really, the U.S. military sent in 2 people knowing that they would be identified as people who are both at Fort Bragg. Aside from that, you have one was a Green Beret at Fort Bragg. My grandfather was a Green Beret at Fort Bragg. So now I'm connected to this. If I did something tomorrow, you could connect me to the plot.
Isn't that one of the most common places to send?
That's Green Beret 101. Matter of fact, in the movie Predator, when they find those guys had been massacred at the beginning, Arnold looks at the dog tag and he goes, I know these men, Green Berets at the Fort Bragg. Right. So that's it. And by the way, the other one guy was one guy was some sort of like office nerd, and the other guy's a Green Beret, but they're both at Fort Bragg. And so they're detecting military plot here. Only problem is the military sent in guys that could easily be identified as a Green Beret and some other guy, some office guy, but they've both been at Fort Bragg. So you see military conspiracy here. Just the military is really big. Guys, if you want to know how stupid this sounds to anyone who's like thinking about this, if the U.S. military decided to blow up a Cybertruck in front of a Trump building, could they do that without the person being identified as a Green Beret from Fort Bragg? I'm pretty sure they could. In fact, I'm pretty sure it would be really, really easy. So it's just weird how they keep doing these conspiracies, but they keep making it like really obvious to the conspiracy theorists. It's weird how they keep doing that.
About 20 to 25% of U.S. Army personnel experience training assignments or operations at Fort Liberty, also known as Fort Bragg. You see. Wow. What an argument.
Matter of fact, I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, because that's where my family was at that time, Fort Bragg.
Mr. Erg, I worry that persistent lies become truth. If this is the next narrative that is being pushed, it will stick. My only hope is that religion is more resilient to trends. This is why you have to keep up education. I have to say that much of this garbage here that is going around with imbeciles like Kim Iversen is popular among people who don't know much online and will probably not have very, very big real life impacts and consequences, especially among those who actually care about religion. What do you think about that? IP, David? Yes, you agree with me. Thank you. Sandman says, heard a Nazi once argue that Jesus was Persian. I did not see that yet, but yeah.
I apologize to the raccoon community.
Don't insult raccoons like that, Mike. Caleb Ciacelli said, I'm sure Matthew, etc., tracing the ancestry of Jesus to David and Abraham is just another conspiracy for genocide too, you see?
True.
You see, Desperado. AP, what do you think the motivation for this dumbassery is? Clout or anti-Semitism? Both. I think with Kim Iversen, it's very likely that she has some backing from certain parts of, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just low quality of certain state fundings that they actually pay people like Kim Iversen. But lots of people speculate that Kim Iversen, for example, is paid by certain by organizations with certain state interests. I'm not sure if that is true, but it seems kind of suspicious the way she talks about things and always takes a certain side. Celia Rosenkreuz, I really hoped she was going to argue something coherent, like the Rabbinic Judaism not being the real inheritor of Second Temple Judaism. I know. The thing is, I was waiting for that as well when I watched the live stream, and she never actually went into that direction properly. I mean, she kind of goes into it, but doesn't really know how to argue it because she doesn't really know how Judaism evolved. She thinks, oh well, they were the Pharisees, and the Pharisees are just the Jews now. That's not really how it happened.
No.
Celia Rosenkreuz, thus the rabbinics might not be real Jews. Man, yeah, that's what she should have said. That would have made a little bit more sense. But JC's genealogy back to Adam, but not Jew. LOL. Alhamdulillah. Are we in a world of fake claim fact? Yes. All conspiracy theories devolve into anti-Semitism. All conspiracy theories. Many of them go into that direction because it's easy. It just reminds me. It's very funny. I've always had great sympathy for certain aspects of the Crusaders, and I know that sounds very, very weird.
It doesn't. I know what you mean.
I always thought that the Knights Templar looked very, very based, and they also had a very, very strong history of devoutly serving Christendom and doing lots of things for the pilgrims. Just look at these based guys here. Powerful. But the thing is, the one thing that's very ironic about all of this is, while these guys are very, very based and had a very nice history, these guys were at some point eradicated and accused in kind of a similar way that people accuse Jews and then try to persecute them. The Knights Templar, while at some point very useful to Christianity, were, when the Second Crusade failed, blamed for the failure of the crusade, and then accused of various completely made-up random things by the French king. And then in a conspiracy, they were dragged out and brutally tortured and accused of worshipping some evil false god or something like that. Under torture, they were forced to confess that they indeed did so. And the funny thing is, when they confessed, their confessions were they didn't even make sense. Like, one Knights Templar member confesses that yes, we worship this I don't know, cow head. Another one comes and says, yeah, we worship this thing that has 3 heads. Another one says, yeah, we worship this thing that doesn't have a face, and so on. Like, they're all contradictory. But under torture, they forced them to confess to worshiping a certain idol known as Baphomet. And then later, once they stop torturing them, they take back their confessions and say, no, this was all a lie. This never happened. But they say, too late. You already confessed. So they execute them. And this was vastly done. I think historians very much agree on this, by the French king to exploit them for their money and basically get rid of France's debts and take their possessions and so on. But they convinced the general population as well that the Knights Templar were these evil guys who were, while pretending to be Christians, secretly worshipping the devil and so on. And they did a whole elaborate conspiracy scheme the same way people do it about Jews. And it worked. And they eradicated them. They executed them. The Grand Master, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templars, was burned to death. When he was burned to death, he said, I hereby condemn the king and the Pope for not sticking up, and they will soon also die and stand before God to answer for their crimes. But this is what people do with conspiracy.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. If anyone needs to go, you can just go.
There is a question or two coming up for IP here in the next couple, though.
IP2. Alex Cohen made a super sticker. Jew from Khaybar said, Kim, Judaism is a platform. No, it's not. It is Pharisaic. Philip Daniel, look up Anthony Smith's 6 criteria for ethnicity. Wish I had her confidence. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, then you too could spout complete nonsense and
I'm going to go through things very quickly. As Jesus said, I would nuke guns. That's what Sneeko said. A very late Merry Christmas. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Gabe, oh my goodness. She is giving me a headache. How do you guys deal with this? It's very cool. IP, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my mind is fried from it because it's like you have to like try to process what she's thinking, and then just you have to think, am I the stupid one here? Because like this is just so dumb, but she's so confident. Like it's wow. It is something with that.
Powerful. Songs of relief. Why do people like conspiracy theories so much? Itching ears, neo-Gnosticism, feel clever. IP, did you catch cold? Get better soon.
I don't know. I'm a little sick. I'm getting some chills again. So my mind is like off now. So probably need a good night's sleep.
Sick. You are sick.
I sure am. Yeah.
Powerful. People like conspiracies because it's just easy to blame somebody else for all the problems in the world. Joseph Swidey, I don't know if you remember the video, IP, but I've seen someone say in your video about the flood that you cherry-picked the studies. I was wondering if there's some merit to that claim.
I don't know what they're talking about. I think I just talked about there was a study that showed there was a mega lake that formed in Mesopotamia many years ago. I need to go back and check, though, because I don't remember. That was like years ago. Sometimes this happens and like studies come out after I make the video and people are like, why didn't you mention that study? I'm like, look at the date.
You've been humiliated.
Yeah.
I was there and I can confirm that IP was cherry picking the studies.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Knows too much. Not only Jesus was a Jew, he also spoke in Hebrew according to Acts 26:14, John 20:16. Note the original text says Hebrew explicitly, not Aramaic, as in some translations. Powerful.
Yeah, the claim, as far as the translations are concerned, the claim is that people at the time could use those interchangeably, the Hebrew and then also referring to a dialect and so on. So that's why, yes, it says Hebrew, but some people think, oh, that's just how they would have referred to Aramaic at the time.
Powerful. Hebraeus dialectos. Huh. Tezbot, she's giving women a bad name. We're not all that stupid, but prove it. By the way, I'm Catholic and definitely Christian. We have quite a legacy one way or another. Yeah. No, it's not about being a woman. It's about being, I was going to make a terrible joke, but no, it's about being stupid. That's it.
But some people think that only Catholics are Christians, and some people think that only Protestants are Christians, and some people consider themselves cultural Christians like Richard Dawkins. Therefore, the word Christian can be used in different ways, and therefore it can't mean anything. No one is a Christian. Therefore, nobody is a Christian, but you are definitely not a Christian. In your faith, you've been humiliated. We can't. There's no way to even claim that somebody is a Christian because we can't agree what a Christian is, but you are definitely not a Christian, you see?
Welcome to the Arguing Like Kim Iversen show.
It's so stupid. Powerful. I'm not a groper, said Joseph Lockwood. Yes, you are. Why do you think so many nations have persecuted Jews by all definitions to supposed 109 different nations? Well, the thing is, when you say groper and then you say 109, even if you put it in quotation marks, it kind of sounds like you're being a groper. 109
like you're a groper.
is a
Groper alert.
109 is a lie, and there has been. I mean, some people went to lengths to actually address this whole 109. Jews have not been kicked out of 109 countries or nations. There were no 109 nations that actually kicked out Jews. This didn't happen. This is a if you attempted to list them, you would not get 109 nations that at the time were separate nations that kicked Jews out or anything like that. This didn't happen.
You also have to know one of the reasons that Jews have been persecuted is because of the Catholic Church. Indirectly, is that they outlawed Christians from loaning interest with money, and so who did it? The Jews did, and they got a lot of power and money because they were the only ones who could loan with interest. And so people just started going, hey, they have all the money. That's weird. Well, then you just look at the statistics and why they actually got there.
And the point of this argument is always,
why does everyone always have some reason to have a problem with Jews? It must be the Jews' fault.
Following this reasoning, though, Christians are by far the most persecuted group in the entire world. And you
So
can go
what?
to the
See?
you can go to the communist world. They persecute Christians because Christians are standing in the way of the flourishing of the communist utopia. Right, the religion is the opiate of the masses, and so on. You go to the Muslim world. Oh, Christians believe that Jesus is God, so they have to be persecuted. Even you go to Western nations, Christians are going to destroy science. Everyone always has a reason to hate Christians. Therefore, it's actually Christians' fault. Same reasoning would apply, right?
Eugene Gore, the Pope wants you for Crusade API. I wish, man. I wish. There are different instances in history. One of which it might be a difficult reading and not for everybody. But I recently looked into one of the disputations that happens historically. Disputation of Barcelona reported about Nachmanides and his interactions with a Jewish guy who converts to Christianity and then who accuses Nachmanides and other Jews of certain things. Wants a public debate, and the public debate then happens, in which Nachmanides basically is refuting everything and making quite a good case why the accusations against Judaism and Jews are very much baseless, built on speculation and anger and things like that. What ends up happening, however, is that they still end up persecuting the Jews. That's how it always goes. You have to have somebody to blame, and who best to blame than those who are different, who refuse to change, and who you can twist your scripture and make the enemy into somehow. In Deep's YouTube, she might be defending New Orleans terrorists in current life. She says the flag was upside down, so it's a psyop. Does Romans 11:18-22 mean we can lose our salvation by being mean to Jews? I don't think there's such a thing, is there, David? IP. I recently read Romans 11.
You didn't read anything.
No, I don't think that means that at all.
Yeah, powerful. Hobocop, you know there are conspiracy theorists who believe flat earthers are double agents to make conspiracy theorists look bad. Conspiraception. Avichad or Avichad says, she said earlier that Judaism was always patrilineal and only became matrilineal a couple of centuries later, which from Ezra 9:10 is evidently not true. Alhamdulillah. Well, she clearly hasn't read anything.
No.
She's making everything up as she goes along, and it's mixed in with some stuff she's heard from a bunch of gropers. That's about
pretty much, yeah.
That's what you get.
As said, you can just bring up one verse here, which is Esther 2:5, and it already refutes her entire argument when it refers to Mordecai as a Jew. Here, it's right here. Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai. A Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai. In Hebrew, it says a Yehudi Yemini Sem Mordecai. So, why does it refer to Mordecai as a Jew? By her standard, it shouldn't refer to him as a Jew. If it refers to him as a Jew, and this is common by the time of Esther too, then it is completely normal to also refer to Jesus as a Jew. That's it. Powerful. Sparda 102. Even the Romans knew Israel belongs to Jews, calling it Palestine. I said that before, and I thought it was very smart.
Hey, yo. No, I was just scrolling through. I was just scrolling through to see it because I know Mike originally said that he could be here about 2 hours, so he's been here 3. Anyway, I scrolled through to see if there are any more questions that are specifically referring to Mike here, and apart from one, you see, he's drinking. He's not a real Christian. When they're joking, there's nothing. So if you needed to cut out, we're actually
cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep because I think my temperature is going back up.
Yeah.
You sound terrible, like crap.
I sure do. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Bye, man.
You're sick. You're sick.
But thank you, IP. Thank you for joining. Always makes it much better. Raises the quality of these streams. Now that
absolutely,
when you're gone, it's going to go down like to horrible levels.
Oh, all right. I'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Alhamdulillah.
We started off with too much cargo, so we got rid of Benedict Arnold.
Calling him a traitor.
I'm going to say that after every time any guest leaves.
Norm Alman says, it's like saying there is no meaning of American, therefore there is no meaning to Americans. American and Americans don't exist. Her point is silly. Anti-Semitism is worse for people's brains than alcohol. You could argue, yes. But yeah, Americans don't exist, clearly. And I will debate anyone anytime on this. Alex Cohen, what's up, Alex Cohen? Thank you so much for everything you do. You restore my faith in humanity. You make me feel like we are not alone. You are not alone, Alex Cohen. You are not alone. You're not alone.
You are not alone. That's what you're thinking before you massacred it.
Yes, yes. Viativistu, what Jesus groups have in common is a shared DNA cluster alongside DNA from diaspora times. Jewish identity is better understood as a tribe with Judaism as a portable suitcase of an ancient society. Joshua Wooden said, next snowfall, OMW, out the door. I can't find winter coat. Who is at fault? It was those shadowy Eskimos. Thanks for the idea yesterday, David Wood. It's actually the Raelians. If you want to blame somebody for something, blame the Raelians. Who benefits the most from terrorist attacks? Who benefits the most when the world is fighting about things?
Eskimos.
The Raelians.
We need we're going to have a big, who's responsible for everything that sucks in my life? Eskimos or Euralians?
Probably the Raelians. We will have to have a debate on that. We should arrange a debate on modern day debate.
Hey,
said, what?
We could probably do that with James from Modern Day Debate and say we want to have like a completely stupid, idiotic joke debate.
Probably. Powerful. Avi said it before I brought it up. In Esther 2, it clearly says that Mordechai, the Yehudi, was from the tribe of Benjamin. Ishimini, that was 500 years before Jesus Christ. Yes, that's true. Boredom, watching a political pundit drunkenly stumble into a theological argument she knows absolutely nothing about is testing my ability to handle nuclear levels of second-hand embarrassment.
Wait, are you saying she's going to nuke somebody?
This is what they're admitting now, that they're going to nuke. Stas Arshansky says her Muslimism is too strong. Yeah, the Muslimists. John say, who is worse, Billy Carson or him, Iversen? I
still have no clue who he is or what I have zero clue what this guy has argued for ever. But we are thinking about going through that at some point.
I know that he's one of those woo-woo people, new age weirdos. That's all I know, but that's, yeah.
It's becoming a cultural phenom, though, AP. We might just need to sit down and watch it.
Yeah. You should invite Wes Huff on your channel and have a conversation with him. Goathub, I heard the cult of tourism started as worship of Thor. Yep.
Yes, tourism.
Yeah. Tourists today are go back to Thor. That's basically what it is. MT, we need to know who is paying these anti-West influencers and gropers. Qatar funds our schools, aiming to divide us from the inside. It's actually, Israel is paying all the anti-West influencers and gropers to make anti-Semitic people look stupid.
Yeah, they're like, Mossad is like, look, Kim, we know you're super smart, but we want to pay you to sound as dumb as possible. And we want you to say the most idiotic nonsense. Here's your $1 million. Do you agree?
We know you're
so
smart.
I'm going to have to postpone my study of quantum mechanics to do this for you, but I'll do it for the money.
Sketch therapy. Most of her work is pro-China, anti-USA. It's propaganda. Powerful. Deep Suitable, I found her attractive before she spoke. That's what usually happens.
Same reaction to Syrian girl for lots of people. Like, oh, she's kind of attractive. Then you hear her and she's like, so I just heard that the big explosion and the big question on everyone's mind is, did Israel just nuke Syria?
There's something weird about her face, though. It's like I sometimes wonder whether she has an extraterrestrial aspect or something. There's something weird going on in her face when you look at it for too long.
I'm just saying, I've seen from the comments, numerous comments. Wow, I thought she was attractive until she spoke. I've seen that.
Yeah. Powerful.
Because she does sound like an idiot.
Andrew Kaufman says Taylor Swift in the 1700s said that Yahuds are naked, filthy, and extremely primitive in their eating habits. They are not capable of government. Checkmate, AP.
You've been
Really?
refuted.
Alhamdulillah. Celera Rosencross said earlier chat asked about what if alt history. Whomst? Yes, exactly. It seems Kim really says Patch Duress. It seems Kim's really lost it since she left, got fired from the Hill, and when she first went on Timcast IRL, or maybe she just seemed intelligent because
She was on other things before.
Was she on the Hill?
I'm just saying, it's like
she was.
This issue is the only familiarity I have with her, and she sounds like the dumbest person in the world to me. So the idea that she'd be brought around to other platforms in the past as some important source of information is just really weird.
I didn't know anything about her. I thought, how in the world did this imbecile get an audience? But apparently, yes, she was a host on the Hill. Is the Hill just a place where they just gather a bunch of imbeciles to make them talk about things? Like Brianna Joy Gray was also there, the one who was fired after she talked to the family of a Israeli hostage and rolled her eyes. She was fired. Do all these imbeciles go through the Hill at some point? What is this? Wow, I didn't even know this, man. I had no idea. I enjoyed yesterday's stream. Thank you. I enjoyed it too. It's kind of messed up that you enjoy a stream about a bunch of people getting killed, but
that's extremely messed up.
Yeah. John the Presbyter gonna ask my girl to send me some spicy Judes later. Dan Day, from an ethnic standpoint, Jesus would be closer to modern Palestinians. From a cultural standpoint, he will be closer to Middle Eastern Jews. Palestinians were Arabized, Islamized by the Arab conquerors. Very debatable. Very, very debatable. There is surely a lot of mixing of genetics in the Arab Palestinian population that was until 80 years ago or less, 60 years ago, simply known as Arabs. And a lot of Arabs mixing with locals, but they have a very, very diverse genetic makeup. You could say that those generally known as Palestinian Christians today, who are generally just known as Christians or Arabs, would be closer than the Palestinian Arabs or Palestinian Muslims in general. But again, it's all just a giant mix. That's it. And there's lots of Arab influx after the Arab conquests.
And even before that, with the Romans, when the Romans finally got fed up in the 2nd century after the Bar Kokhba rebellion, they kicked almost all the Jews out. They kicked tons of Jews out of and then what? And then you had some Jews that stayed there. You had some Christians that were there after Christianity spread and so on. Then the Muslims come in, and then Arabs are moving in and so on. So that ended up being a big giant mixture, which would not have been the case in 1st century.
They destroyed Jerusalem. They banned Jews from Jerusalem. They kicked them out from around the regions. Lots of them settled in Galilee. Many of them went over again and started the whole Babylonian Jewish trend that went on for centuries, where much of the rabbinic tradition developed and so on. And those Jews then continued from there, establishing Rabbinic Judaism and forming the various diaspora from which the Mizrahis, Ashkenazis, and all the others came forth. They have a continuous tie to the land. And it has been very well established. Jordan Page, who is this lady? Just wondering what her deal is. I have no idea who she is. She's some random person I pulled up. CJ Ocean, so was Jesus gay? John, the one he loved, rested his head on Jesus' chest. Judas kissed him. Was Judas gay? Is this a serious question, CJ Oceans?
What kind of stupid question is that?
It's a very, very stupid.
When he says so, what does he mean? When you say so, it means that, okay, based on what you just said right there, therefore this.
It's very, very weird. looking at kissing in a different culture from the perspective of a modern Western guy is a very, very dumb thing to do.
Well, you have to even say like Western, almost like you have to specify like British or American or something like that. Because in France and some of those places, Italy, very, very, very common to still for people to still
in
kiss each
Italy,
other.
people will kiss each other and they greet each other. That's
I
not
remember
right.
I remember that when I went to France, a guy was there and his nephew was driving us around, and then when we were heading to the airport, he went in for a kiss, and I like I was from the Bronx at that point, and I was like, I recoiled. Whoa, hey man! But he went in for the kiss.
Gay? I'm not gay, man. I'm not gay.
I'm not gay.
The whole you're gay if you kiss is a thing that you have as a result of your. If most people around the world don't have the impression that if you that if two men make a kissing gesture while greeting, that this is gay. This is pretty much a minority culture aspect. An Oklahoman can't be an American if he calls himself a Sooner. His argument is silly. That's true.
Mhm.
This is almost hard to watch. It's Dawa like it is.
It's Dawa level. It's Dawa level stupid, and that's saying something.
I love juice, orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, all flavors of juice. The way to go. This is the way. Haj Rayyan al-Ghazlani says, Rabbi wasn't a polite term. It was a title used by only the Pharisaic sect obtained through a laying on hands ceremony. Why was Jesus called a rabbi?
Actually, doesn't rabbi just mean teacher?
Yeah, it was just a word for teacher, but
I think
I
you
guess
could.
sect by
I think
sect
you
was-
could call you can call someone like teacher in a sort of more generic sense, and then like someone whose actual profession has gone to school to become a teacher, you could say it's a more specific sense there. I don't know.
But the funny thing is, she clearly didn't read anything. You have in the Gospels clearly Jesus being called in the synagogue among the Pharisees to the front to read from the Torah. He's called to read from the Torah. That's what happens. Alhamdulillah. But no, he was not part of them. He was a different sect. He said, no, I can't do this because I have converted to
I
Nazarene.
am a Nazarene, not a Jew.
You Jews go ahead. I'm a Nazarist.
A Nazarene.
So stupid. Just a dude, I like you looking at the source AP important Greek Hebrew, you are Pharisaic. I say this for I'm a Sadducee. Yes. It is sad to see that people do these ridiculous things. Yeah. What's up, Essie? Sketch therapy. She defends Muslims in Gaza, hates Uyghurs in China. That's what they do.
Urinating upon one another. That's what they do.
Jack Ray, Kim Iversen, and Billy Carson seem mentally equal. John the Presbyter said, I wonder if Paul got rid of his Pharisaic problem with the same ointment Jesus used to heal his crucifixion wounds before he walked to India. That's what the Ahmadis will probably say. It's such a ridiculous debate.
This is why we say that she's using Dawa level arguments. It's similar kinds of stuff.
I still can't believe that we had two debates with the Ahmadis, and the first debate was absolutely horrible for them. And the second debate, which they apparently took extra time to debate to prepare.
They needed more time to prepare, which was months. We prepared the night before, or the day of, or something like that.
It's just horrible, terrible. I guess that's what you have to do if you are Ahmadi. You just rely on complete ignorance and lack of logic. And what's the best you can do to defend such a stupid religion? Honestly. It's not their fault. Mad Lips says, I know it's off topic, but the wars of apostasy of Islam are very interesting to me. And if D Wood or one of you could make a full-fledged video about it, I find it very interesting. You mean the Ridda Wars, the early Ridda Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wanted to make. There was one of those videos that I wanted to do next when I was doing my continuous videos on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then I stopped making those videos, and it's still waiting like that. Very funny. Some falafel sandwich. I wonder what she thinks about the Levites. What do you mean?
They are not Jews either, because they are not from the tribe of Judah.
No, what is this? Isn't that a brand for like jeans? Isn't it a brand? Derek Goff, she agreed to debate anyone on this.
Levi Copter. He's the brother of Eli.
She agreed to debate anyone on this anytime. Little did we know she meant to debate us on this in our absence, with all our positions and arguments provided to us by her. Exactly.
It is interesting how she provides everyone's reasoning, and it's stuff we've never heard anyone say ever. And that's what she responds to.
But how can you call them Levites when there are pants that are also called Levites? Cam, she a white Christian, she a white Candace Owens. That's what I heard. That's true. Ezra Gregory, no, he was a Oompa Loompa because I said so. That's true. Cam, Kim convinces me Jesus is a Jew. Happy New Year's. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. See?
Good job, Kim.
Powerful. Powerful.
It is totally based.
Mickey, did Jesus encourage his followers to break off into Christianity? He told them, hey guys, don't follow the Pharisaic sect. You have to follow the Nazarism.
Yeah, what you'd have is Jesus told his followers that he's the Messiah, he's Lord, and so on. And so you had people who didn't believe him, and eventually you break off around. If an issue is important enough, eventually people will split over it.
Yeah. So the whole thing was not just I don't know how you would see it, David, but it was not like, okay, this is how the religion was. This is the religion so far in our society, and I am here now to bring a new religion. That's not how it went. It was this is what we do, and from now on, what we do is going to change because I have brought to you this. He wasn't bringing a new religion. It is simply meant to change the way things are. That's it. He wasn't telling them, oh yeah, we are no longer Jews. Ladies and gentlemen, the sermon the sermon did not include a speech about how we should from now on reject Judaism and Pharisaicism and no longer identify as Yehudismists, but collectively convert to Nazarism. That's not how it was. Ezra Gregory, actually, Bill Carson said that the Sinai Bible said that Jesus wasn't a Jew.
Well, if Billy Carson says it, you got to go with it.
Phyllis says she and Candace Owens seem to have similar definition of Jews and have similar nonsensical beliefs, which they think they need to spew onto the world. You know what I was thinking of earlier? That there's actually a very, very good case to be made that France is a Jewish country. Well,
because they're the Frankists, the Franks.
Look at the timeline of the name of France. So the France came from the Franks, which were a Germanic tribe. The Franks established their Frankish kingdom and are then known at some point in Latin as Francia, and then that starts to be known as France. And all of this happens several centuries after Jesus. Do you think it's a coincidence that they were called the Franks? The Franks? Frankists. This is the Frankists are the ones who founded France.
And we know that because it was in the diary of Anne Frank.
Yes, exactly.
The secret diary of Anne Frank, where she revealed all these secrets.
Yes. And it's only available to those who are Frank.
Frankly.
Ghost, man.
And when Donald Trump says, frankly, he's dog whistling to all the Frankists.
Yeah. He's sending a message to the Frankists. That's what he does.
And that's how he said when he says frankly, that was a message to the Frankists to send in the Green Beret from Fort Bragg to blow up the Cybertruck in front of the Trump building so he could,
Yes. And is it a coincidence that all of this is happening quite close to Passover? Which is only in 3 months? Huh. Ghostman said Jesus was and will always be king of the Jews. Now from the Mod Talmud, I don't even know. I don't really know if you can use that phrase. I mean, that was a mockery phrase, wasn't it? Would it be appropriate to even use that phrase? I mean, that was meant to be mockery, right? By the Romans.
Yeah, if you're talking about Jesus being the Messiah, he's the king of everybody. He's the ultimate king. That's why you'd say King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and so on.
Powerful. But the Romans went on there and said, "King of the Jews, we're killing your king, man." How about that?
They were making fun of him. They were making fun of, and really, that wasn't making fun of. That really wasn't making fun of Jesus. That was like Pilate, like screwing with the Jews.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's your king.
We're killing your king.
Look, we'll put a crown on him.
Easy peasy said Kim Dis Owens, Kimidawa. Don't mess with my head. Judy Suffer became a YouTube member. Welcome to the channel, Judy Suffer. Cam AP coming to Christ 2025, the rise of Christians.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, Christianity depends on me totally. Absolutely. That's how it works. Should get back to work. Gold, the Syrian grooming gangs, episode 30, 12, 42 minutes. Powerful.
Wait. Is that a Andrew Gold video? Is there something on the Syrian grooming gangs?
Is it? I don't know.
That's what I was wondering. Like, what's that referring to? Let's see. Syrian.
Oh yeah, I see.
Oh yeah, Syrian grooming gangs running Newcastle.
These were
Syrian girl running grooming gangs.
Running Newcastle.
42. Okay, this is where the
take forward in 20 years' time.
Yeah, we know from, I mean, Israel's a really good example where they have 20% or so of the population being Hasidic Jews, and they massively influence politics in Israel. It's ridiculous, to the point that they often push Israel towards more war or policies that might, end up in war.
Is there an H on the screen?
Hasidics themselves don't have to fight in the wars. It's actually a disgrace. Really? I think that's a disgrace. Yeah,
I think there's a little bit of an exaggeration, but yeah. What are you saying, David?
Why is there a little H right there for no reason?
Oh, here
on the bottom left-hand corner. Yeah,
it's because this channel is called Heretics.
Oh, okay, I get it. That makes sense.
Andrew Gold Heretics.
You should just put heretics up there then people like me wouldn't be confused.
I think what it does is it rolls out occasionally during the show.
I get it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I apologize.
In that country.
Sorry, Andrew. I
take it back. We take it back. Take back all our objections.
Powerful. I love you all. Just a joke, AP.
He says he loves you, and then he says it's just joking.
I think this is a joke.
Doesn't really love you.
You think this is a joke? Auditor GB says Nostradamus says Islam and Christianity will clash and there will be a world war in 2029 from it. Is there any truth to anything Nostradamus says? Well, if Nostradamus says it, then it's probably true. So
yeah.
Why else would he say it?
I think he's just making stuff up. Come on.
It's obvious. If he said something, it's obviously true. Does it make sense to you that he would just say something if it wasn't true? Come on. Let's be serious. Come on. Key Caboose. But David, what do you think about such self-proclaimed prophets?
Not terribly interested.
Did he actually... I don't know much about what his prophecies are based on and what his own stance about them was. Whatever. Key Caboose says Jesus was actually a chill Jamaican dude, but Jews put him in a Jewification machine to make him a Jew. I heard that too, but I'm not entirely sure if that's correct. Libelle said, who is Kim Iversen, please? A shelf system from IKEA. Yes. Raisin Bread. Many Orthodox Christians in YouTube go hard after Islam. Their video contents are quite engaging. Why don't many Catholics in YouTube go after Islam like them? Orthodox Christians often tend to have a more politically based approach, as far as I can tell, as opposed to all the Western Christians who are just a bunch of losers. Pathetic. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, David?
I don't know.
We don't?
Nope.
Alhamdulillah. Ibiki says, what's the main groper defense for worshipping a Jew? Ask the gropers. What I find very funny is when certain people who claim to be, I mean, the gropers usually are people who claim to be Catholic or Orthodox, mostly Catholic, some Orthodox. But it's funny that they have a veneration for Mother Mary aspect while also having tremendous hate for anyone who is Jewish by faith or genetics. You're literally venerating and have so much reverence for a woman who is so pure and so holy above all, who is as Jewish as it gets, while also hating Jews. It's just so ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. Of course, you have nothing to say about this, David. Nothing. Joseph Lockwood
Oh
said,
no. I was just looking up that heretics stuff and figuring out who this guy is and stuff.
Powerful. Joseph Lockwood, I sounded like a groper. I know I sounded like a groper.
That
I'm
stands
not.
for I know.
I just keep running into that claim online. Thanks, guys. Christ is king of the Jews and all. I would recommend. I had an article saved somewhere about the whole 109 claim. It is. It's not even a known thing until the Nazis made up such a number and such a narrative. There was an article dealing specifically with that, with the argument from a Jewish perspective. I would recommend looking into that. There is one which is by Unpacked in video format. Then there is another on some Israeli website. I will share it at some point if I know more. If I have it handy. Zero Miedo, great job, gentlemen. Thank you. Lisa Marie Pritchard. Hello, Lisa Marie Pritchard. Australia has just stopped Israelis who have settled in the idea from entering our country. They have just brought in 3,000 people from Gaza. Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. It is going to be a wonderful thing for Western civilization, for Western nations to import as many Gazans as possible. As many people from Muslim countries as possible. Definitely. And also, of course, you will have to somehow deal with the whole, terrorism and rape stuff that just, you'll figure it out. That's fine. Whatever. Fun gaming. Judaism always been matrilineal. The root word for nationality is from the word mother in Hebrew. The rabbis didn't use verse in Genesis for other reasons. Powerful. Thank you for that information. I shall study this further. Libelle said the tip LED and Mohijab on True Geordie circa 1 year ago. I saw that they were there. I wasn't terribly interested in it though. Daniel R. She doesn't even look like Ellen. What? She doesn't even look like Ellen? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Who's Ellen?
I don't know. Ellen is the god of Islam. That's all I know. But Frank Vermont. See,
Here you go. Here you go. You're being
another
refuted
Frankist.
by
another
a
Frankist
guy from a
here.
Jewish cult.
A Frankist is here and saying Mary was a Galilean, not a Jewish woman. Jesus was a Galilean, land of the foreigners. In Hebrew, Jesus was born in Bethlehem from Galilee.
No, Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. Galileans were Jews.
Yep.
That's it. Galileans were Jews.
So nice try, Frank. So what Frank here would have to say is, but he'd have to be committing the etymological fallacy again. If the original meaning was someone from Judah, well, Jesus would fit that. So you'd have to go with kind of the second meaning of people from Judea, and then stick with that, and then not understand that it eventually became applied to anyone from all the tribes, but also the tribe of Judah, where it originally came from, and Jesus was from the tribe of Judah. So anyway, I can't tell if the
It's-
person being
it's
serious
so-
or just making fun of things now.
I hope you're being
We
funny
hope
and
you're
not-
we hope you're joking, because otherwise we think that you're almost as dumb as Kim Iversen.
I mean, are you going to refute Jesus himself here? Seriously. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Judeos.
And hey, it gets
Yeah,
worse.
who do-
The apostle Paul called himself a Jew. Where's Paul from? Not Judea, not even Galilee. He's from Tarsus.
which is
Saul of Tarsus.
modern day Turkey, which means he was a Turkish guy.
He was Turk. He's a Turk, not a Jew. We've been humiliated.
Yeah, he was a
The Apostle
Turk.
Paul was a liar. We can't trust him anymore on anything.
Why does he call himself a Jew when he was
clearly
clearly
a
a Turk?
I will just convert to Islam now.
His real name was Erdogan. Just a dude. Just a dude. I grope her by the pee. Alhamdulillah.
You just grope her by the pee.
Lisa Marie Pritchard. Australia has stopped Israelis who have served in the IDF coming in, but has just brought in 3,000 people from Gaza. So wrong. I think this is a correction of your earlier super chat in a better written way. I get it. Very, very nice. Yeah. I mean, I think Western nations should import as many Gazans as possible and as many people from Muslim countries as possible. I think it's a perfect strategy. Perfect strategy. And then whenever a terrorist attack happens, you're supposed to go, why is this happening? How is this happening? I don't get it. What did we do wrong? Chris Haynes says, I'm not a Hamas supporter or an anti-Semite. I wrote a 30-page response to Robert Spencer's book on Palestine because it has several historical errors. He didn't even attempt to respond. Thoughts? Ask Robert Spencer.
Yeah, why are you asking us? And what is everyone who says, hey, Robert, I wrote 30 pages responding to you, he's supposed to jump on it?
Yes. Dan Dave, stop being rude, man. Chris here asked a serious question and was being as nice as possible. Why are you insulting him?
Because he's coming and asking us about he's
What about? And did you know that I wrote a 50,000-page response?
Then what about Robert Spencer?
To Joe Biden. Can you tell me why he's not responding?
Dan Dave said Islam became dominant religion in Palestine in 10th century. Jews were a majority until 7th century. Jews revolted against Byzantines with help from Sassanids. They were Arabized, Islamized much later. This is true. This is perfectly true. However, this is true. This is true. However, it's also true that this is partly true. Ghostman, I do have a question for you. Would all people from Catholics do what? It's been 3 hours. I can't read anymore. I do have a question for you. Would all people from Catholics to Orthodoxic be considered Jews, or when did they call themselves Christians? I mean, they weren't a Catholic or Orthodox at a time to begin with. I don't know what you're asking, but early on they called themselves Jews. Then it slowly turned into Christians. Yeah. What do you say, David?
you'd have to do some. If you wanted to say that Catholics and Orthodox are Jews, you'd have to be using the word Jew in an extremely loose sense in terms of even the Gentile followers of Jesus being grafted into becoming part of Israel or something like that. But I'm not aware of anyone doing that. Like, you don't see Catholics and Orthodox doing that. So you're asking a weird question here.
That's true. 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 So let's see. Let's bring up Acts 11. Acts 11. You have here the instance of while Paul uses the term Jew for himself and also refers to himself continuously as a Jew, and also identifies as a Jew, you have him using the word Christianos here. When it says, and when he found him, he brought him to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. The disciples were called Christians first as at Antioch. So at some point, they started identifying as Christianos, as following the Christ, while still being Jews. But it expands into encompassing not only Jews, but also Gentiles, which is at which point they no longer become known as the Jews, but rather as Christians. And then the whole distinction between Christian Jews and between Jewish Christians and Gentile Christians or non-Jewish Christians start emerging, and it starts separating slowly, especially after the 70 AD, the destruction of the temple, into two separate religions. After that point, there's no point to calling yourself Jewish anymore, although there is still some aspect of saying we are Jews in a sense in Christian theology. But yeah, whatever. You should have asked this question in the first hour of this live stream. King Troll, can we read Rome 11:18, please? Fine. You want to force me to read it now? Romans 11:18.
Stopping at 22 sounds like a groper.
Why?
Because it's about other people being grafted in and so on, and then I don't know why you'd stop at verse 22.
Why are you accusing everyone of being a groper? Groper derangement syndrome.
Well, anyone called King Troll would normally be a tip off. It's like if he had a
no, you have
had the
groper
frog or something.
derangement syndrome. You see, the GDS. Yeah, do not consider yourself to be superior to those other branches. If you do, consider this: you do not support the root, but the root supports you.
Talking about Jews and Gentiles here.
You will say then, branches were broken off so that I could be grafted in. Granted, but they were broken off because of unbelief, and you stand by faith. Do not be arrogant, but tremble. For if God did not spare the natural branches, he will not spare you either. So you see, do not be arrogant. Do not be arrogant. Consider therefore the kindness and sternness of God, sternness to those who fell, but kindness to you, provided that you continue in his kindness. Otherwise, you also will be cut off. And if they do not persist in unbelief, they will be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again.
Yes, he started verse 22. It's like, hey, they're cut off. But if you keep reading, you know what I mean?
After all,
And
if
then
you
you even have the next section highlighted.
Yeah, because I have an account on Bible Gateway because I'm a based person.
Yeah, I have that too, because I'm based too.
Powerful. After all, if you were cut out of an olive tree that is wild by nature and contrary to nature were grafted into a cultivated olive tree, how much more readily will these, the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? You see? Powerful. All Israel will be saved. I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers and sisters, so that you may not be conceited. Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of Gentiles has come in, and in this way all Israel will be saved. As it is written, the deliverer will come from Zion. He will turn godlessness away from Jacob, and this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins, and so on. Powerful part. Powerful part. I find this funny. As far as the gospel is concerned, they are enemies for your sake. Okay, it's done. Okay, we're done reading here. Not reading any further. But as far as election is concerned, they are loved on account of the patriarchs, the Jews. Why is he saying the Jews are loved? Aren't the Jews evil? Huh,
yep.
Weird. For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Excuse me, but I heard the Jews are evil. Just as you who were at one time disobedient to God have now received mercy as a result of their disobedience. So they too have now become disobedient in order that they too may now receive mercy as a result of God's mercy to you. For God has bound everyone over to disobedience so that he may have mercy on them all. No, Paul is brainwashed by the Schofield Bible because of the Holocaust narrative.
That's why, yeah. I mean, I have no idea what this guy's position is, but the fact that he wanted to stop it verse 22. That was that's what I was wondering.
Powerful. What is this channel's purpose, please? Thanks.
Humiliating everybody.
It's comedy. That's it.
Mhm.
David the Goliath. What happened to the Muslim majority of Spain? Were they all converted back to Christianity? Thank goodness for that. Imagine jihadi Spaniards. Now, many of them were kicked out later on. Many of them were converted and came to be known as the what was it, conversos, or something like that. Others slowly disappeared. Powerful. Ein Berliner mit Berliner says, did you guys look into the love the Jews by apologetics? In the lyrics, it counts all the apostles, etc., and Jesus that were Jews. AP, you will love it. What is apologetics?
It's obviously a song.
A band.
Is it?
Yeah, I will check it out. I'm Berliner. Polydoxy with Aaron Friedman said, Apostle Prophet, could you please check your DMs? I will. King Troll said, if you stop at 22, it looks like Christians lose salvation if they are unkind to Jews. I don't think that's what it says.
Oh, that's what he meant. Yeah, I was wondering why.
See, you're accusing somebody of being a groper, although he's saying the opposite. See, in your face. You have been punched with a chat.
I've been humiliated.
Consider therefore the kindness and sternness of God, sternness to those who fell, but kindness to you, provided that you continue in his kindness. Otherwise, you will be cut off. To my understanding, it's not about kindness.
That's God's kindness, not your kindness.
Yeah, it's God's kindness in it. Yeah. God's kindness, you see. Okay. Anything else, David?
Oh, nope.
We've been live for 5 hours already. It's kind of funny. This whole going live on Twitter at the same time totally distorts the viewer count. On here it says 8,000 people watching, which is completely false.
Oh, it's a parody. I was looking up that song. Oh, it's a parody of "Love Me Do" by the Beatles.
Hey.
Oh, please love me do. They changed it to "Love the Jews," apparently.
Powerful. Anyway, Kim Iversen has been destroyed and humiliated. She is an ignoramus moron.
To be fair, though, she destroyed and humiliated herself when she opened her mouth.
That's true.
We just tried to make it a little more clear.
No wonder she didn't want to have a debate on this with either me or IP. I would have embarrassed her, and IP would have peed on her even more worsely than that. So anyway,
and we encourage everyone out there to ask her when she tweets and so on, what happened to her claim that she's willing to debate this when multiple people have agreed to debate her on this.
Powerful. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching.
Pharisaic ex-Muslim.
I am the Pharisaic ex-Muslim. Thanks for watching the Pharisaic ex-Muslim show. I will be back, and David will be back too. Today is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday. Are we going live tomorrow, David?
Yeah, I got multiple topics we could do, so.
All right. Now that IP is gone, I have to pee. Thanks, everybody, for being here today with us. And as always, take into consideration coming directly from the goat's mouth. In translation, for those who do not speak goat, it goes as follows.
Stay away from Islam.